Boelter Jones, Pro Football Hall of Famer, top 100.
Tyler Lockett from the Seattle Seahawks.
DK Metcalf from
Nate Burleson. You're watching NorbCam.
NorbCam.
You're watching NorbCam.
What's up, everybody? This is NorbCam and DJ Squabble. Special edition here on this Blue Friday. Just popping in with another quick live video to address a couple of breaking news items that came up just today, and to talk about a few other late-breaking, exciting news here in the Seahawks Nation. What's going on? I'm NorbCam. This is DJ Squabble, also known as Noah Boelter. I should the other way around. Noah Boelter, also known as DJ Squabble. Live in the studio together for the second time, which is great. So glad to have you on the show again, man. We kind of just spontaneously decided, hey, let's do this. He was coming by to bring by a little surprise, which you'll find out what that is soon enough. But since you were here, I was going to say, hey, let's do a show. Let's talk to the 12s out there and just share some, get some thoughts in there about what's been going on lately. So I'm glad to have you here, man.
Well, you know what they say about content creators, they create content. So you brought it up. You said you want to go live. Let's do it, man. I prepared a couple pages of notes here. Got to be prepared when you come on a professional show like Norb. So I'm here and ready to rock.
Well, you're a professional. I don't know about me. I don't have any notes. I'm just, I've been playing golf all day, and I barely got the news about what happened with Quinton Dunbar before I headed out. So played 18 and ran back here. So I'm kind of just kind of soaking it all in, but I'm excited to be doing this. So before we jump into all the news, I just want to remind everybody, if you have it in you, I'd love it if you guys would hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and the good old notification bell, and that way you will always be notified whenever a late-breaking video comes out. So you ready to do this, man?
Let's rock.
Hey, I want to say real quick, we were just live on Sam Dog, the infamous 253's channel. Sam Dog just hit 1K subscribers, so big shout out to him for that monumental accomplishment. That's getting that first 1K is huge. Just to see that K underneath there is pretty cool. So congrats, Sam Dogs. I think he's still doing his celebration cigar smoking show. But we want to jump in here and do a few things here just to talk about. So if you guys have any questions, I am going to take your emails if you want to throw them in here at norb@norbcam.com. And if you want to throw in a couple questions for me and Noah, feel free to do so, and we might read a couple on the air. Otherwise, you can always do the old super chat thing, and we'll definitely note those as well if any pop up. So let's get into it. Let's get into the news that broke today. The news about Quinton Dunbar. Man, this case has had more turns than just zigzagging left and right. First, he's arrested for armed robbery. Then, no, he's innocent. We have affidavits saying that that they changed their minds. Then he's guilty because they're paying off witnesses. He gets new attorneys, and then it looks like it's really, really bad. And all of a sudden today we find out all the charges have been dropped. I mean, that's pretty dang exciting. Especially we've been talking about, will Quinton Dunbar still be able to be on the field? He won't see a trial, for about at least a year because of COVID delays and all that kind of stuff. Will he be able to play? Will he be suspended? All that kind of stuff. And then, boom, suddenly, out of nowhere, seemingly, we get this news that all charges have been dropped. What was your reaction when you found that out?
Well, Norb, you'll know because we've talked about this so many times. This, seemingly a never-ending saga, and it's only been a couple of months, really. So it's actually pretty exciting that they've gotten to this point this quickly, especially with the pandemic going on surrounding the justice system. But regardless, you know that my stance has always been that we have to move forward as if he's not going to be there, and that way, if he's there, it's a benefit factor, and that's great, that's awesome. But we have to prepare in case he's not going to be. I thought we did a lousy job of preparing in case he's not going to be there, because Trey Flowers would probably still be a starter for us, but he's probably going to be there now, so it's all working out anyways. Quinton Dunbar, essentially they're saying that, or the prosecutors are saying that they don't have enough evidence against him, and what that really means, I don't want to toot my own horn here, but it kind of means that I was right in the beginning when I said it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's not necessarily it's convenient evidence. What I mean by that is
circumstantial evidence.
Thank you. Circumstantial evidence. Everything that they had against him could be proved wrong or could be argued against. So there were conflicting reports that he had a gun or that he didn't, right? So that's two sides going against each other right there. As well, talking about how the cars were ready for a quick getaway if they were ready to leave. Well, what I said in the past was anyone that grows up in a situation where it's not constantly surrounded by money probably knows that when you go to a party, when you go to an event where you're going to meet a bunch of sketchy people that you don't know before, especially someone that has something to lose like Quinton Dunbar, you park ready to get out of there quickly in case something hits the fan, in case it gets ugly. So what was the word again? Circumstantial evidence. Thank you so much. I'm gonna just tap you every time I need that word. And then the last thing was Dunbar wasn't the guy with the mask, so it's circumstantial evidence. All the stuff against him, it could be argued that it was a spur of the moment thing. Dunbar doesn't have all those hits against his resume in the past like Baker does. Because of that, he could say he pulled up, happened to be with Baker again. Baker decides to do something crazy. Nothing really is against Dunbar in that situation. Remember the phrase that I offered before, when a gun is pulled, you do what you're told. That's what it was, and that could be argued for Quinton Dunbar.
Right, and as it's playing out now, DeAndre Baker, he's still got the charges against him, and so right now the way it's looking is he was the instigator, the guy who was sort of leading this entire situation, and Dunbar was just victim of circumstance, that word of circumstance, as far as his involvement in all this. Well, so that looks really good in the sense of his case here. Obviously, I guess he's innocent in the court of law. If the prosecution drops the case, drops the charges, essentially you infer that he's innocent. Now, whether he truly is innocent of any wrongdoing, that's a whole nother discussion. But the fact is, the prosecution drops the charges, so as far as the legal case against him, that's out the door. Now, that raises question number 2. Now, we know that when it comes to suspensions in the NFL, they're two very different things. What's proven in a court of law is not necessarily in conjunction with the suspensions that are given out by the NFL commissioner. Oftentimes, situations haven't even been proven in court yet, and the commissioner will still slap games, 2, 3, 4 game suspension if the case has, just because conduct detrimental or whatever, the inappropriate behavior in the NFL, which is questionable as to how legit, or because he's sort of the judge, jury, and executioner. Even when you appeal your case, you're not appealing to a higher court, you're appealing to the commissioner again, which I never understood that. I never understood the logic in an appeal where you're just going back to the same guy. I mean, if my daughters are in trouble, I say you're grounded, or we're taking away your phone for the next 24 hours, and then they, go back and think about what they've done, and they go, you know what? I think that's unfair. I'm going to appeal that case. They're going to come back to me, Dad, I'm appealing the sentence, and I'll say, that's nice. Your phone is still being taken away for 24 hours. Go back to your room. So
right.
Why would I change my mind unless you suddenly brought some evidence that changes everything? And I don't know what else they could bring that hasn't already been brought to light.
Checks and balances are important in every single relationship. And sometimes in the NFL, it doesn't feel like Roger Goodell is being checked enough by higher powers that aren't the ones paying his bills. So, it comes down to the fact that with this situation specifically, I think Baker's in a lot of trouble. I think Dunbar got away with it in the court of law. Like you said, there's still a chance he gets suspended. I feel like Roger Goodell needs to take like Adam Silver and be kind of mobile, willing to learn, willing to adapt, willing to have flexibility, and a little bit more willing to adapt to the current circumstances, because Dunbar got off the hook. Unless he has committed anything against a personal code of conduct, I definitely think he shouldn't be suspended. And I think because of the way that his reputation has been tarnished by this whole incident, I think he should be given a little bit of slack because of it.
Yeah, I agree. Especially, these cases where the verdict hasn't been determined, it's kind of understandable that, it's innocent before proven guilty, except in the NFL's eyes. So But in this case, he's already been proven innocent in the court of law. So I think that needs to weigh in here and affect what if he was planning to suspend him in the first place, whatever that should be significantly decreased or taken out altogether. In fact, there's a super chat by the Sports Live in the ATL. He says, "Go Falcons, Julio for Wilson." Hey. Sports Live in the ATL was in that chat and on Sam Dog's channel, and he was basically, we're going to do a collaboration before the Seahawks Falcons season opener, and he's already proposing a bet that he would take his on his wall. He's got a Julio Jones jersey, and he wants to do a straight up bet where if the Falcons win, or if I win, I get that jersey. If he wins, he wants this jersey. This is my NorbCam jersey, the one that I've gone to the NFC Championship game with, Super Bowl. I'm going to have to think about that one. I mean, that's a lot to put on the line in a season where we don't even really know what kind of team we have because we won't even have seen any preseason games. I think I've got a lot more to lose than he does, in my opinion. But anyway, that aside, Fat Kid Ori in the email, he sent me the first question. He says, "Hi, NorbCam. Do you think we should fire Roger Goodell? Also, what do you think? What do you dislike about talking politics?" Politics, that's just a no-win that's a no-win situation. I avoid politics in the family discussions just because most of the time, no matter what, all you're going to do is yell at each other and not get anywhere. To me, there's no positivity out of that. So I'm not going to waste time talking about that. But going to that, should we fire Roger Goodell? First of all, we don't get to decide if we get to fire Roger Goodell. We don't get to vote him into office or vote him out. How are they decided, actually? Isn't it the owners? We actually I don't even know how they decide when a commissioner's term is ended.
It all is based on the owners. It has got to be. If they get frustrated, if they don't like the job that he's doing, they'll move on. But the way that Roger Goodell functions with the salary cap, a hard salary cap, the way that it is, the way that he's making money for the owners, and the way that the league is built around the owners, it looks like Goodell might be there for a while.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. You've got 32 billionaires all hanging out together, and you got one guy who just sort of does what it takes so that those 32 billionaires will continue being billionaires. And as long as they're making money, they'll be happy. So far, he's been making them pretty good money. This year's going to be interesting, though, because this might be a little bit different situation. But Unix Format says, "Go Hawks, sup, Sports Live in the ATL. Wait, you can't bid on Norb's jersey? Yeah, there's certain things that are off limits. Like there's just certain things you just don't put on the auctioning block, right? There's just certain things. This is me. This is my stuff. I've been through thick and thin, wore these in every single Rivals video. You think I'm going to put this on the line for a freaking game that is like, it's not even the Super Bowl. Maybe a Super Bowl or something. If it was the Falcons, actually they wouldn't be in the Super Bowl because the highest they could ever get to is an NFC Championship game. But you know what I'm saying? Game one? Come on now.
Well, and no preseason.
And no preseason. Yeah, exactly. So, we know these teams are going to come out there rusty as hell. Russell Wilson's got a whole brand new offensive line with the exception of one or two guys. He's got a new center that's going to be taking snaps from. Come on now.
High risk, low reward.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't do I even want a Julio Jones jersey? I mean, yeah, it's equal things here. Doesn't add up. Anyway, so that's where we stand on that. So the question, we didn't answer the question, which is kind of the title of this video, is Quentin Dunbar, will he get suspended? Let's make a prediction here. Do you think he's going to be suspended? We say he shouldn't be, but will he? Take a guess. Do you think he's going to get slapped with some number of game suspension from Roger Goodell?
I don't think so. And I think while this might not be the intended outcome, I think a major reason why is because Baker is looking worse and worse as this whole thing goes on. And the worse Baker looks, the better it looks for Dunbar, because we can say that it was...
I'm sorry, I got distracted. Circumstantial evidence. So I got distracted by all these super chats. But go on.
Circumstantial evidence. So, with everything going, because I don't know if you know Baker's alibi, but his lawyer and his lawyer's name, Patrick Patel, essentially is saying that Baker was in the next room during the entire robbery, playing Madden, which he brought his own console, he brought the game, and he brought some controllers. So the way that he's trying to prove this as well is, so essentially he was in the other room playing Madden this entire time. He heard a table get flipped, he heard everything going on, and he dipped out right as it happened. But then he's conflicting himself multiple times within this thing. So first of all, he says he's looking for electronic proof that his account was playing Madden at the time. Well, I don't know how much you play video games. I know you played enough to know that you don't have to be the one playing the game under your account for your account to be online at the time of another incident. What I mean by that is someone else could have been in the other room playing on the sticks under his name, so this doesn't really prove that he was playing Madden in the next room.
Well, even on top of that, you can be logged in playing and put your controller down and go to the other room, and it'll still show you as logged in. It doesn't mean you're playing, but your account could show that you're online, so it doesn't really prove anything.
Exactly, and there are two other things that they're trying to prove. Another thing that Patel is trying to prove, and this is by video evidence, and remember, all these things he doesn't have proof about yet. He's trying to prove these things. Another thing that he's trying to prove is that Baker's car was not ready for a quick getaway, which essentially he's saying he's trying to find some video evidence to prove that, but realistically that doesn't prove anything either way, because either he could have done something irrationally where he wasn't planning on doing it, or, like I was saying, circumstantial evidence. A lot of people just park ready to go fast anyway, so that doesn't prove anything one way or the other. The one piece of evidence that, if he's able to provide this, would be very crucial towards this entire thing, he's trying to get timestamps from a local security, because this is a gated community. He's trying to get timestamps from the local security camera showing Baker leaving 2 hours prior to the police being called. Well, that conflicts your own story, talking about he was playing Madden and then left when he heard everything going on. If he left right then, why would it be 2 hours before the police were called? He's conflicting himself. It doesn't add up. If you were to stick with one story, you might have a way out, but all this stuff about Baker is making Dunbar look even more innocent. The prosecutors dropped charges because they had nothing against him. Everything is circumstantial, and like I said from the jump, you could point the finger at Baker.
Okay, so all more good news for Quinton Dunbar. Baker looking that much more guilty while Dunbar is looking that much more innocent. But it still goes back to that question. If you're Roger Goodell, you said you believe he will not give him any suspensions.
No suspension for Dunbar.
Well, that's good. I want to see what the audience thinks out there. My gut reaction when I first heard the story was 0 suspensions as well. Mm-hmm. It seemed like it was after reading this a little bit more and seeing some of the blurbs on social media was still saying he could still be suspended. So the fact that that door is still open, it just made me think, well, I guess he could be. But why should he if there's really nothing that he's done wrong? So let's just keep our fingers crossed, Seahawks fans, that Dunbar will not get any suspensions and he will be back with the team practicing full go in just a matter of days here. So that is the hope that suddenly all this will be swept away, and it's Dunbar, Jamal Adams, Shaquille Griffin, and Quandre Diggs in what could be one of the NFL's best secondaries. Just like that, in a period of like a week and a half, we went from, oh man, I just don't know what this defense looks like, to suddenly, bam, best secondary in the NFL. How do you like that?
You raise a great point, Norb, because people forget. People are trying to get on Seattle for making all these bad moves this offseason, not going for what they needed. Well, if Dunbar plays from week 1, or if Dunbar plays at all, and with Jamal Adams now on the field, we brought in a guy that, had he played on Seattle last year, would have led our team in sacks, and with Dunbar, had he played on our team last year, would have led our team in picks. So that's turnovers and sacks, leaders that we brought in this offseason, essentially within a week now, because Dunbar is getting off of this case now at the same time that Adams just got brought in. So if everything works out and Dunbar doesn't get suspended, this is a huge break for Seattle. Our secondary just got that much better, and it tremendously helps our defense, which is so disrespectfully ranked 32 by PFF.
I'd like to see what PFF, I don't know how often they rank their teams, defenses and offenses going into a season, but clearly I would like to see what that number would be now. With just those two changes right there, 32, I'm sure that number would go up at least in the 20s, and preferably into the teens. It's amazing how two guys can make that big of a difference. Sports Life in the ATL came back. He says, how about this? Keep that jersey. Do you have one you could put up? I respect that. It's close to you. Keep me updated. And DJ, comment under a video go ATL. And then UX Format responded back and says, okay, Sports Live in the ATL and NorbCam can put up a super jersey up for bid for the subscribers. However, we need the metrics. All right, we got to figure out the best way to do this. We got this bet that Sports Live in the ATL wants to do with me as a wager for the opener, Seahawks against the Falcons. That jersey, every jersey is special to me. You know how it is. And I'm sure that Julio Jones jersey is special at Sports Live in the ATL.
For those wondering, this is his.
Yeah, he came in here. He wore a shirt that was too close to the green screen color, so he looked like a half invisible man walking around in here. So he had to borrow some clothes. So I was gonna make him wear that University of Washington sweatshirt that he had to pose in for losing the bet that we did on my live stream the last time he was here, but I didn't. I offered it, but he wouldn't take it. So I was kind enough to show mercy and let him just wear a Seahawks jersey. I should have been more cruel and made you wear that Washington Huskies
I'd rather be invisible. Just double my weight loss.
Oh, man. Okay, so let's see. Going on here with another email, this time from Xbox Blades. David Whitmore 92. He says, hello, NorbCam, and hello to Noah. Congrats on your YouTube channel, Noah, and always happy to see you both talking with us about the Seahawks. My question is, what are your thoughts on our defense coming into the season? The Seahawks were the top 3 turnovers on defense. If the defense doesn't do well again, do you both think Ken Norton will be replaced next year? That's a good question. Well, we'd already talked a little bit about what we think of our defense transforming after this sudden change of luck for Seattle. So I think we both agree that Seattle should be ranked at least in the top 20, if not somewhere in the teens. But that's a good question. If Seattle's defense doesn't do well again, do you both think that Ken Norton will be replaced next year? And I guess you'd have to kind of qualify what does not do well again. To me, that means we got to finish better than we did last year. If we finish in close to the mid-20s again, that would not be good enough for me. And I think we should consider a change in defensive coordinator. What do you think?
I think it's bigger than that. I think if this time next year things haven't changed defensively and offensively, I'd not only look at changing our defensive coordinator, I think our defensive coordinator could potentially stay while we flip out head coach and potentially GM. Not only based on how things are, how we've struggled offensively, creatively, Schottenheimer and Darrell Bevel. You know, we tried to blame it on Bevel. We move on from Bevel. Schottenheimer can't even get us to where Bevel got us. So, you know, the constant factors here, the problem, if we continue to struggle this year and we still can't bring in a big pass rusher, even though we'll talk about it in a little bit. We're looking at a couple of guys.
Yep.
But if we're unable to do so and our pass rush continues to be a problem in a continuously more important position with how the league is evolving towards the quarterback, I think we look at moving our head coach and potentially our GM because they are so tight-knit together. And I think potentially we could end up keeping Ken Norton while it's swapping out head coach, but it would be upon the new head coach to decide that.
Wow. But, you know, for that to happen, we're talking about the owner coming in here and basically saying, I'm cutting John Schneider's out. Pete Carroll's out. I mean, that would have to come from that's a top to bottom decision there for that to happen. I don't know. That might be pretty extreme. That'd be pretty extreme. It'd be a lot easier to, of course, just cut the defensive coordinator, play that route. But, man, Schneider and Pete Carroll in the one fell swoop, I just don't see it happening, man. I think unless it's a disaster of a season. I mean, it's a disastrous, no making the playoffs, sub 500 kind of thing. That might be a different story. But it all depends on how the finish is. I think if we finish in the playoffs, certainly if we get a division, well, I think anyone getting fired talk is probably out the door. But I don't know. We made the playoffs and almost won the division. And almost, could have changed everything with 3 inches and not a faux pas at the end of the 49er game, despite having the 26th ranked defense. So, I don't know. I don't think we will be sniffing that 26 defense, especially transitioning to the next point. Potentially some big names yet to still be announced within the Seahawks defense, and that is the rumor that's been going on about, we've been talking about all offseason about Jadeveon Clowney this, and I've been saying that I think Jadeveon Clowney is going to come back. Well, it seems like there's a lot of rumors in the wind now that's going to say that, Norb, I think you're wrong on this. And that's the recent news that Clay Matthews and Everson Griffen are two names that the Seahawks are apparently actively pursuing. Now, I have not really jumped into the story, and I know you've got some research on this. So I want to see how much of this is really just rumor and how much of this has teeth in it. Now, we've all talked about, I think Griffen is the number 2 guy that we've all said, if we can't get Clowney, let's get Griffen. So I'm not going to feel too bad about that. But now Clay Matthews, that's a name that was not kicked around at all up until recently. But I digress.
Remember the last time we streamed, man, you asked me if I could have Clowney or Griffen, and you said straight up, because I tried to use the money as an excuse. I tried to say price tag out the window.
Yes.
If you could have Clowney or Griffen, who would you take? I said Everson Griffen because he provides the need that Seattle needs. Like, it's our biggest need is getting to the quarterback, not slowing down the run, because Jamal Adams now is going to help us out tremendously with that, as well as Jordan Brooks, in my opinion. So I said Everson Griffen from the jump. I still think between these two, Everson Griffen and the Claymaker, I want Everson Griffen primarily because we need that defensive line help more than we need linebacker help. Well, the thing with Clay Matthews and Everson Griffen that makes it so realistic, first of all, both of them had 8 sacks last year. Second of all, in their careers, both of them have had at least a 13 sack season, which is just tremendous. That's more than Aaron Donald had last year, for reference. But what makes it so realistic is that Clay Matthews and Everson Griffen both go way back and played with Pete Carroll at USC. So now they have that connection with Pete Carroll. They could potentially rejoin the system. Clay Matthews last year was in a 3-4 after so many years in a 4-3. And then now you talk about bringing him into Seattle and what that would look like. I think we'd have to move him all the way around. He's played right outside. He's played left outside. He's played left inside last year. So he's played all around. We could use him in a whole bunch of different flexible positions. I think the player that we should go after is Everson Griffen first. I think it's less likely that we get him for a couple of reasons. First of all, the price tag. Everson Griffen is coming off a 4-year, about $14.5 million per year deal, whereas over the last 2-year contract that Clay Matthews had with the LA Rams, he was making less than $5 million per year. Also, Everson Griffen is the position that we need, but if you remember, I think it was about a week ago now, maybe a little bit more than that, Everson Griffen came out and said that he's down to his last couple of teams that he's looking at, and one of them is Green Bay and the other one is Minnesota. Well, there's 2 ways that you could look at that. Those are the only 2 teams that he mentioned, although he said that there were more. I'm concerned that he didn't bring up Seattle. I'm concerned that he didn't say Seattle is one of his options, because if you're saying Green Bay, either 1, you're telling the truth, or 2, you're bluffing to try and get the old girl back. Either way, that doesn't end up well for Seattle. So I do think it's more likely that we end up with Clay Matthews because it's cheaper, and because the fact that Everson Griffen didn't bring up Seattle as one of those options, but Everson Griffen would be the better option. And based on how the salary cap is looking right now, with us having $15 million in room, it's still possible. You guys be aware that we could end up bringing in both. I'm probably going to drop a video about that just because I am so excited with that possibility, that we could bring in Clay Matthews and Everson Griffen, because Clay Matthews we could get for less than $5 million. Everson Griffen, anything less than 10 at that point, puts him in the conversation. He could go in ring chase mode, try and join a championship contender. He's made a lot of money in his career. Both of these guys are on the latter end of their career, and I'm pretty sure their main priority is winning.
You make a good argument there. And you did say the last time we talked about this, if you had to choose between the two, all things being equal, you would choose Everson Griffen. I think the pass rush side of things, he had more sacks. Clowney definitely did not have the same type of sack total. To get both of them, that would be a pretty sweet deal. Mm-hmm. Really, we could get it to fit within that $15 million cap space. It's doable.
Well, and remember, the priority is Everson Griffen also because within, so they both have had greater than or at least a 13 sack season. Everson Griffen's most recent was in 2017, whereas Clay Matthews was way back in 2012. So Griffen has been better more recently, but last year both of them had 8 sacks, and the way that we can make it all fit, We get Clay Matthews on a similar deal than he had to LA, if not even cheaper at this point, because he wants to stick it to the old guys, stick it to the guys that didn't do him right. But also Everson Griffin, I've been talking about for forever. I think we could get him potentially if we're bringing him with some more people, which we've already brought in a Jamal Adams, and we've got to save cap room to pay for him. And we want to show that we are going to be a competitive team, that he's not going to have to carry the load fully for. We tell him we're bringing in Clay and you if we can get you for between $6 and $9 million per year, and then bring in Clay for about $5 million. We still have $1 million in cap space, at least with that kind of deal, and we have 2 more pass rushers.
Wow. So do you think the door is completely closed on Jadeveon Clowney at this point? Like, there's absolutely no chance?
No. And I've heard a lot of reports that it is absolutely 0 chance. But this whole time I thought it was unlikely. I didn't think it was impossible. And now more than ever, I think it's possible because of the fact that just a week back or so when we made the Jamal Adams trade, I was looking at our salary cap. We were at about 13. Now we're at about 15, which that was our original offer to Jadeveon Clowney, was $15 million per year for a 1-year deal. So I could see us still bringing in Jadeveon Clowney for a 1-year, $15 million deal. But Seattle's not going to budge on it. Clowney's going to have to, and that's the biggest difference here. The same reason we've been holding off on A.B., the same principle at least, is that they're going to have to change, not us. It's the same thing with Clowney. Clowney's going to have to adjust his expectations, not Seattle.
And it could be, again, just like what you said about Griffin not saying Seattle was one of his teams. I mean, how often do what players or GMs or coaches say about players means what they really mean, right? I mean, how many of these players or the coaches and GMs talking about before the draft who they're interested in or who are they not? They rarely do what they're actually wanting to do because they're trying to sneak their way into things and get the leverage on another team. Now, this is a little bit different, but it could be the same thing where, let's say nobody's signed Clowney yet. Mm-hmm. A lot of teams he's talked to and still nobody's pulled the trigger. Now he could be looking that time's starting to wind down here in Seattle now with this talk about getting Matthews and Griffin. That could even be a leverage play with them, thinking that, oh man, if they go with him, then I lose Seattle. Then they don't become an option. Who am I going to sign with? What other good teams are out there that actually would be willing to pay me that's a good fit that I could still get a chance with? So perhaps this could all be a leverage play. Could all be part of that too. I guess it's going to be fun to decide. Now when does this all have to really be decided by? At what point does Seattle or all the players involved, when is the cutoff when we can expect that this has to happen by this point? We have game 1, but at what point does this really have to get finalized? Do we even know when it actually is like a hard deadline?
By the time we're eliminated. That's all I care about. As long as we can get these guys in the building, I think we really rely at this point with the Griffin thing, because you're talking about the psychology of it. How often is it just a smokescreen? How often is it really tangible evidence as to where they're going to end up? Well, you think back to the Earl Thomas scenario with Dallas and Jason Garrett saying, "Come get me in the locker room after the game." Yeah. Well, then he went to Baltimore. Why did he go to Baltimore? Because the money was right. Because that's where the bread was at. That's one of those things where we can't do that for Everson Griffin. He's been making $14.5 million per year. We're not going to give him $15 million after barely offering that to Jadeveon Clowney. So no matter what, money isn't going to be the reason that we pull him away. So what we have to rely on, and that's to a lesser degree, the Tom Brady effect. Tom Brady goes to Tampa Bay. Now Rob Gronkowski's coming to Tampa Bay. Now they're getting all these new people. LaShawn McCoy is now in Tampa Bay. Players are just signing for discounted deals to go to Tampa Bay. The Dominican Sue resigns in Tampa Bay. All these guys just want to play and compete and have a chance to win. So once Seattle comes across to the entire NFL and to these free agents as a clear contender, potentially a favorite, that's what Antonio Brown, if he comes to Seattle, could potentially do, is make all these other signings for cheaper, because money isn't going to be the pulling factor. It's clear Everson Griffin doesn't want to just come to Seattle for the weather. So what's going to be that pulling factor that makes him leave his hometown and the rival with a chance to stick it to his hometown? It's got to be a chance to win a championship and a very strong belief. So as long as we keep focusing on what we need to do to make our team better right now. Go after a potential AB, go after a potential Josh Gordon, go after a Clay Matthews, make Everson Griffin's job easier, and then he'll look to Seattle like, okay, you're starting to look a little bit sexier after all.
Well, and look, and we just, as we started the show, the fact that we had the big Jamal Adams signing, and then now this news about Quinton Dunbar. Suddenly, the defense moving from what it was, and in just a period of less than 2 weeks, ramping up to a level that was not talked about before, just with those two players. These guys see the news. They see what's going on, and they're probably thinking too, damn, Seattle's defense just got stacked, man. I would fit really good on that defensive line with that secondary back there, and now with Wagner, KJ, Jordan Brooks now getting a lot of talk about him being the starter on the weak side and all that kind of stuff. So now, knowing that the only pieces left that really are kind of what need to be filled is that defensive line, all of a sudden I'm thinking these guys who are want to chase that ring, suddenly that path to getting there looks a lot sweeter than it did even just like a month ago. So be fun to watch. So I guess really this game of who's going to sign, who's going to go where. So there is no real deadline as to when they have to decide. As free agents, they really can hold out as long as they want to until...
Well, you can sign players all the way down the end of the season. You remember with Devin Hester a couple years back.
Yeah, we pulled him in for that game. In fact, he tore it up in that game against Atlanta, by the way.
For a bad call, in my opinion. I thought that was a bad call.
Man.
If Sleet is still here, that was a bad
call. You talking about
that
holding call, the line of scrimmage?
Gosh.
Wasn't it Justin Britt or something?
It wasn't Britt. It was someone small.
No, it was small. It was
like a linebacker or something.
Yeah.
I think, but it was just ridiculous. Like, that
Joey
was
Hunt? Somebody smaller. But yeah, it was terrible.
Huge
Called
play
it back after like a 50, 60-yard return that would have changed the entire complexion at that point.
Yeah.
He tore it up that day.
Oh,
Devin Hester, man, was on fire. I mean, he couldn't be stopped.
It was inspirational.
Yeah, it was just unfortunate we got so far behind in the process. But, man, it's going to be fun to watch and see how this game plays out and how long. It's like a game of chicken, right? It's like they're coming at each other like, oh, who's going to blink? Who's going to blink? Who's going to blink? Who wants it more? I mean, it's a fascinating, just kind of a poker game of who wants it more, who wants to be on that team more than I want them to lead me to believe that I want to be there so that they'll pay me more to be there, right? Because in their heart, Clowney and Griffin, these guys might be just salivating to be on the Seahawks. But, of course, their agent and other people are not going to make it look like that. They're not going to say, oh, please, I want to be on the Seahawks. Well, I'll do whatever it takes. Otherwise, you got no leverage, right? So the fact that they have to play that, Seattle's not one of those teams I'm going after now. I'm not going to chase that.
Just go to a couple parties, meet a couple new women, meet with a couple new teams. It's actually really interesting. Coincidentally, circumstantially, my uncle this morning, he's visiting. He's visiting from Arizona. His name Uncle Sterling. Shout out to Uncle Sterling. He had this conversation with me this morning. He was telling me, as I go into the job force down the road, whenever you're negotiating a potential contract with people, whoever brings up the contract number that they either, if you bring up the number that you want to make or if they bring up the number that they want to pay you, you always lose. Whoever brings it up first loses. And so now with this whole Jadeveon Clowney thing, there could have been a chance that if Seattle would have brought up a number like, oh, we'll just pay you $25 million for 1 year, Clowney would be like, oh, that's even more than I wanted. Sign that immediately. Seattle loses out on that deal. Clearly, that's not what happened. Jadeveon put forth a number. Seattle put forth a number. Those numbers never met in the middle, and because of that, we're unable to get a deal done. So there's a lot of psychology that goes into it, but unfortunately for us, they couldn't come to an agreement.
But see, that's just like any negotiation, right?
Exactly.
You go to a car dealership, and like you said, I've learned in our business, usually the first one who throws the number on the table is usually right away putting himself in a position. But the typical way, if you are going to do it, you ask way more than you're hoping to get.
Yeah.
And if you're on the other side, you go way lower because you're hoping to land somewhere in the middle. So if Clowney is going to ask for 25, knowing that he's hoping to get 17 or 18.
Right.
Seattle's going to say, no, we'll offer you 13, hoping they might land at 15. So maybe somewhere in there's a happy medium where 15 and a half is the magic number, and they know it, both sides know it, but they're going to keep trying to see if they can nudge the needle this way a little bit more or this way. And since there's no real deadline to make it happen, and really especially now, considering that Clowney, these guys don't have to hurry because one, we're already so far behind. We're only getting this preseason start or training camp started. There's no preseason. These guys are veterans. They don't need to, get up to speed. These guys can pretty much plug and play. They know what they're doing. They don't need this extra time like a rookie does. So they can kind of just ride it out. They just got to stay in shape and all that and make sure they don't get hurt or anything like that. But really, both sides, it's just a matter of how long they want to hold out and play the game to a point where, the first one blinks. But it's going to be fascinating to see. We'll keep an eye out on that for sure. So another email from Fat Kid Ori. He's got a few in here, a few questions on the list. I like that. It's the shotgun approach. It's answer all these. Well, we'll see. We'll answer maybe a couple of them. First question from Fat Kid Ori is, what are your thoughts on Tom Brady? GOAT or cheater? As a guess, I'll toss that your way.
Tom Brady's a GOAT. Too much consistency when it matters the most. NorbCam was talking about how the number one thing that you want in the game of football, it's the same thing in basketball. It's that competitive spirit. That's why Pete Carroll preaches competition so much, is because no matter what, at some point you're going to have to make a play. Well, the thing with Tom Brady is pretty much every time he's got an opportunity, he's made the play. And because of that, I put him in the GOAT, or as the GOAT, based on his resume over so long. Bill Belichick hasn't been successful without Tom Brady. So we're going to figure out this year how successful Belichick is. I don't think he's going to be very successful, but Tom Brady, I say, deserves the lion's share of that credit. And because of that, I say Tom Brady's the GOAT.
I agree. I believe he's the GOAT. I do think there have been some questionable things in the checkered past that is the Patriots, but not all that is on Tom Brady. Yeah, you got the Deflategate in that year of the 2014, the Super Bowl that should have been ours, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, since then, the stuff he's done, and again, we keep bringing up Atlanta in these conversations, but that game against Atlanta, they had no business winning that game.
That was fun.
It was fun. I felt bad for Sleeta because I even did a video interview with him the day after the Super Bowl about the worst day in a Falcons fan's life. I think talking about that loss, and he was kind enough to actually spill his heart and his guts about the feeling on that. Very similar to what we went through 2 years earlier. But the fact that how he has done that and so consistently is pretty remarkable. And it's interesting how you draw the comparison. How you say Bill Belichick has only been successful when he's had Tom Brady. Well, what other coach-quarterback combination can you say the same thing about? Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson. Pete Carroll, before Russell Wilson came into the team, was 7-9, 7-9. So in 2012, all those fortunes changed with a lot of luck, really. Russell Wilson coming to the Seahawks in the third round means twice. Teams passed on him 2 times, 2.5 times, really, by the time they landed on him. And we just beat him to the punch before he could have potentially gone to, wasn't it the Redskins or the Eagles? Eagles that were interested in getting Russell Wilson. We just sniped him out right before that. But even with that, and then taking the chance on him as a starter after we had committed how many millions of dollars to, what's his face?
11, 12.
11, yeah, it was double digits millions of dollars to Matt Flynn. I mean, there was a little bit of luck, a little bit of courage on Seattle's part to hand the reins over to a rookie when you've committed that much money to a guy. But yet, of course, we've seen that has paid off since. But yeah, it has kind of shown that where would Pete Carroll be without Russell Wilson? We won't get to see that question answered for a while. Hopefully not next year or anything like that. But the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick question will be answered this year because they're going to be competing against each other. So it's going to be interesting to see how that does play out. Do you want to make a guess as to which team's going to be more successful?
What do you mean?
Patriots or Buccaneers?
Patriots, Buccaneers? Tampa. I'm taking Tampa from the jump. I think Tampa probably wins that division. I think Tampa is in the NFC Championship game against Seattle. I think it's down to the wire. I'm afraid Tampa is going to be the reason we don't get to the Super Bowl. That extremely terrifies me. But back to the whole Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll thing, if you don't mind, because
You really want to hate on Pete Carroll, don't you?
well, I think that yesterday I posted a video about the top 5 NFL players in my eyes, in the order that I think it was. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but to summarize my top 5 from 5 down, it was Aaron Donald, C-Mac, Lamar, Pat Mahomes, Wilson number 1. I put Russell Wilson number 1 on my list, and I put out a 7-minute video where I spaz talking about why Wilson is the best player in the NFL. The reason that I can put Pat Mahomes behind Russell Wilson and Russell Wilson ahead of the MVP, well, it's because of the situation. With Lamar, he's got double-digit Pro Bowlers over there and a head coach that built the entire offense around him. Russell Wilson's offense plays away from Russell Wilson. We run the football and trust our defense. That's not what you're supposed to do with a top 2, top 3 quarterback in the NFL, at least. That's not even arguable right now. Pat Mahomes, if Pat Mahomes is in Seattle, Pat Mahomes is Russell Wilson. If Russell Wilson is in Kansas City, Russell Wilson is at least as good as Pat Mahomes. I feel like he's better at this very point in his career. The reason being, Russell Wilson has all this experience out the line of scrimmage, adjusting plays, pre-snap adjustments. Andy Reid can call the plays like no other. Andy Reid can create an offense around a quarterback like no other to make him look phenomenal. Remember that one year Nick Foles just went crazy? Andy Reid. And so he can make quarterbacks look phenomenal. It was a great offense with Alex Smith. He made Alex Smith look great, and then he gets the next level talent with Patrick Mahomes, and he makes it phenomenal. They're winning Super Bowls. Russell Wilson in that same scenario would be doing that very same thing. It's a matter of how the offenses differ with how they call plays, what they're trying to do, what they're trying to establish. Seattle wants to establish the run and play defense. When we struggle to do those, Russell bails us out. He's bailing water out of our boat. He's getting back in the swamped canoe. But
Something you couldn't do a long time ago.
Whereas Patrick Mahomes, he's taking advantage of the situation around him. It's nothing against Pat Mahomes, but at this very moment in his career, I say Russell Wilson's better than Pat Mahomes, and you have to look at the coaching staffs and make that part of the reason why.
Can't argue with you there, man. And I think a lot of us have felt that feeling that when are they going to just take the leash off of Russell Wilson, let him just do his thing, give him more freedom to run this offense truly. And we really haven't seen it. And yet, despite all that, he has still had remarkable numbers. Passer rating, touchdown to interception ratio, all those things. And, it's staggering how successful he's been and how successful he's made the team despite having so many things going against him. And I'm starting to drink the Kool-Aid, man, on your side about this. From a coaching and just offensive philosophy standpoint, that we got to see some noticeable changes.
Thank you.
Especially in a year where Russell Wilson has officially, publicly been anointed the number 2 best player in the NFL. You got to give him the ability to lead and be what he is. If you're the number 2 guy, well, let him lead the team. Let him take the ball and run your offense. Well, it's going to take a lot of changes on the philosophy because that's not what they've been, neither of these 2 offensive coordinators. And maybe it's not the offensive coordinator. Maybe it all starts from the top going down. So
Well, I hate to do it, but I liken it to my situation with my dog. You know my dog, Chachi. I have a little Chihuahua named Chachi, right? When I first got Chachi, so first of all, we adopted him from a pound. He used to be part of 52 Chihuahuas that was hoarded. He was one of the last 2 Chihuahuas that still hadn't been adopted. We adopted him. So he came in. He had a lot of fear problems. He still has a lot of anxiety and things. But one of the things that happened was the first day we bring him home, I remember I was outside and I happened to be in a robe going outside. I think I was taking out the trash or something. I'm just like, come on, Chachi, let's go outside. We go out front. I open the door and he is gone. He's just further, nowhere to be seen. Now I have to chase him all the way up the street with just a robe on. Well, for a couple of years, I wouldn't let him out front at all. I just wouldn't even let him try and go out there because I wouldn't trust that he'd be able to come back to me or that he would come back to me. And I also didn't know if I'd be able to catch him. Well, every couple of years, Since then, I've just tested it. I've opened the front door and said, come on, Chachi, let's see if you'll hang out with me. Let's see what way you're going to lead me today. If you're going to go off and do your own thing, if you're going to be an idiot that runs in the middle of the street, or if you're going to stick by me. To this point, he still doesn't stick by me. But the point is, at some point with Russell Wilson in this offense, you just got to let him have it. You just got to see what way he's going to take you. Is Russell Wilson going to lead us to the promised land? Is he going to stick by my side? Or is he going to run crazy like Chachi does? I think Russell Wilson is a lot less crazy than Chachi, and I think he'd lead our offense to be one of the top in the NFL.
So what does that mean? If you had it your way and the coaching staff, offensive coordinator, Pete Carroll, all in your mind said, you win. Russell Wilson's number 2. The keys to the car are yours. What does that mean tangibly in terms of what we would see? Are we talking about number of pass attempts, just simply going up to where it's a higher level, or is it just by the play calling? How do you see that being a proof that that's what's going on?
Well, part of the reason that I think Pete Carroll needs to go out is because I can't see him ever doing what my adjustment would be. Once we start playing Madden together, you'll know. I'm a spread offense guy. I like to get out wide. You got to use every single inch of the field to your advantage. We don't tend to do that all the time. We like to stack the box offensively and just pound it down the throat, which is great at times. There's definitely times when you have to be able to do that. But there's also times when you have to use the sidelines. I think we need to use the sidelines more. I think when we run our little picks on the outside, our little crossing routes like this, when get Tyler Lockett and back in the good old days, Doug Baldwin on the sideline and stuff like that, that's when we were at our best. Put the ball in Russell Wilson's hands, let him do his thing. I think spread offense, when we go 5 wide, I think a couple games of the year, I brought this up before, I think we need to come out and go no huddle, run tempo, try and get the defense tired. The defense has to deal with Russell Wilson every single play. You listen to what people said during the NFL Top 100 talking about Russell Wilson. It's annoying to try and chase that dude. Let's use that against them. Let's make them tired. Let's make them gassed. Our offense is phenomenal. When we go spread and we go tempo, we're great at 2-minute drills, but we don't do it more often. Why? Because of our philosophy. That's what needs to change.
And you stole my thunder. I was going to just bring that up. I've been saying, and I know a lot of people have been saying, but I've been definitely saying for years, let's just try running that 2-minute offense. Let them go no huddle. For once, even because I understand reason you don't do it, you can't do it the whole game, because if you do and it doesn't work, your defense gets exhausted and tired. I understand that. But let's say you get the ball to start the game. The defense is fine. They're sitting on the bench, right? Cool. Nobody's played yet. Start off your first series, let Russell Wilson just go no huddle, and if they go 3 and out, or get a couple first downs and they have to punt, well, the defense hasn't gotten anywhere. They're not tired. So anyone who says that argument, that's not going to work because of the defense tired issue, that's what you say to them, at least to start off that first possession. There's no reason why you couldn't do it there, and I've been dying to just see that. I've been dying, just as much as I've been dying to see Seattle do a retro uniform from the 70s or 80s. I've been wanting just as much to see Russell Wilson run the 2-minute drill to start off a game. I would love to see it. Because, again, if we go to that stat, what is the stat? If Seattle's winning by 10 points or more, they're like 65-0 or something like some crazy number. 10 points. If Seattle has a 10-point lead at the half, they are nuts. It's a nuts like hands down. You're undefeated. You're unbeatable if you have a 10-point or more lead. And the problem is we never do. We're always down by 5 points, 10 points, a touchdown. And so it's always that come from behind second half thing that has to happen. And so, and I've said, and this kind of backs up your theory, that there's something wrong with the mantra, one of the biggest mantras that Pete Carroll has. All of a sudden, this video has become the let's bash Pete Carroll night, apparently. But the whole thing about, can you win the game in the first quarter? No. Can you win the game in the second quarter? No. Win the game in the third quarter? No. Fourth quarter? Yeah. But as the stats prove, you can win the game because they've done it 65-0 times when they had a lead in the first and the second quarter. So apparently you can win the game in the first and second quarter. You're just going to need to have 10 points or more. So why not do it? Why not continue to make that your goal to win the game in the first and second quarter, open it up, let them tear up get 17 points, unanswered points, and all of a sudden it's 17-0 at the half, and you have nothing to worry about in the second half. You're running away with it.
That's an excellent point, and not even just to start opening up the game, Norb. I want to take your idea and I want to run with it. I want to open the door for Chachi 4 more times this week, kind of deal. This is what I want to do with your theory. Let's take your theory of running that 2-minute offense when we open the game. Let's run it every single time that we go out on the field and we see the defense in a personnel that they're going to get tired quick. When we see them in a 4 front where they got 4 big old guys where they're just going to be exhausted. They're tired running down the field. We start getting chunk plays in a row. We're spread out on them. We're making them make decisions. We're making them make reads. We put their brains to the test. See how much they've really studied film by running RPO plays, triple option plays where they have to think about it and then they have to chase down Russell Wilson, where they have to stay disciplined, where they have to stay fundamentally sound. We got to test our fundamentals. We got to test their discipline. We got to test their conditioning. Whenever we see them in personnel groups that we think we could take advantage of, we need to step on their throat right when we get them there. We get a chunk play, we go down, we snap the ball again, we keep them in that defense, we keep them confused, we keep them frustrated. Mentally for a defense, it's very important for cornerbacks specifically, but for an entire defense, you have to have selective memory. You remember the good plays, you forget the bad. That's really hard to do if all you can do is continue to have bad plays.
And the other advantage of that whole thing, the 2-minute offense, the just no huddle, is they can't substitute. They just have to keep going, and it's like, find out again. This will probably be the year where, off the bat, this will probably be the least prepared, the least conditioned athletes on the field than we've seen in how many seasons, because we're not having any kind of a normal training camp. Even Pete Carroll talked about this week that they're now just doing this week what they would have been doing weeks ago, because last week the start of training camp was all spent doing COVID testing. So everything has been pushed back, and now the first game of the season becomes the preseason, and we see how some of these preseason games are like horrible. It's like, oh God, what the heck? Nobody knows where anybody's going. The passes are all over the place. The communication's all messed up, and so we got to take advantage of that. And I think that's where, especially when you look at our offense, the weapons on offense, including the running backs, if you go no huddle, Russell Wilson already has rapport with almost everybody on our receiving core. The only one who's new really is Philip Dorsett. Everybody else is all got the chemistry with Russell Wilson. Tight ends, you got Greg Olsen, but he's a veteran, and Will Dissly, he's back and into form, but he was already, this is his 3rd year, and every single year he's had a huge start to his year, so I don't see any hiccups there. And they just need to adopt the philosophy of, instead of the old run the ball to establish the pass the ball to establish the run. You pass the ball in the beginning, you get the yards, you get the points, and then what do you do in the second half? You just pound the ball. You give it to Chris Carson and run the clock out after you have your 17-point lead, your 14-point lead, your 20-point lead, 21-point lead, and then they're already beat up and tired and mentally out of it because they've been beaten and completely taken out of the game, and then you punish them with the run game. That's the formula. It's been the inverse this whole time. Let's keep running the ball. Let's keep running. We got to establish it. 3 and out, punt the ball. 3 and out, punt the ball. Oh, it's the 3rd quarter, 4th quarter. We better step it up. Russell, or it's the end of the second half with 30 seconds left. Russell, go throw the ball a few times, and we score touchdowns. Like, oh, where was this all game? Where's all this? So I'm with you, man. I think subconsciously we've all wanted this, but I think it just hasn't really been. We've laid it out right here. We've got the formula. This is the key. We have the weapons. We have the technology. And now we've got the defense, much improved, but we've got to help that defense out.
Press the corners.
Press the corners.
Play physical. We've talked about all
Press
the
the
adjustments.
corners, man. Yeah, too much. That's a whole. Now we're getting to the defensive roster. So that's the offense. Now let's talk about what's wrong with the defense. First of all, we got the personnel. We don't have to complain about Trey Flowers anymore. We got Quinton Dunbar on the right side. That's going to be huge already. How many picks did he have last year?
4.
4 picks. To his defense, Trey Flowers, I believe, had 3 picks last year.
I think he had 2. Maybe 3.
I was surprised.
I remember
we did trivia.
Dunbar Diggs and KJ also had 3. I think there was one other person. I thought McDougal had 3. Wasn't
it could be right. It's at least 2, possibly 3. Maybe you guys can check it. Anyway.
Okay.
But yeah, how many times have we just seen those corners, against those, that very same spread offense, defense just letting guys just take a couple steps, little juke move, and they're free release across the middle, and you have all these crossers just running amok. They got to get their hands in there. Got to get some Brandon Browner actions, some Richard Sherman type stuff. Knock them off their routes. Get some hands on them. And of course, you can't miss. You got to be sound in your technique, because if you lunge at a guy and you miss, he's gone. Devontae Adams style. So we can't have that. But I don't think that we'll have that problem with Quinton Dunbar, and now of course with Jamal Adams. It'll be interesting to see how they play that. Will they possibly go back to the same single high safety like we did with Earl Thomas? That means Quandre Diggs has to play the Earl Thomas center fielder route and cover everything. But to put Jamal Adams, he needs to be there. Jamal Adams is best as a safety in the box, where he comes up to the line of scrimmage, potentially to sack the quarterback, which he was outstanding at with the Jets. And he's also great on run stopping and for disrupting crossing routes. We haven't had that because we've run this kind of 2 deep safety thing. And I don't know if that's because they didn't feel like they had the free safety who could cover that much ground, or is it the fact that they didn't feel like our strong safety had the ability to play that effectively up in the front. But now we do have that guy. So I don't know. What do you think? Can we run the LOB style, pretty simple cover 3D, where it'll be Quandre Diggs deep, Jamal Adams in the box, and then your corners holding it down one-on-one?
Couple adjustments that we're gonna have to make, and I feel like part of the reason last year with Trey Flowers that we were so afraid to put him in press coverage, I feel like part of it, and I'd like to challenge Trey Flowers, if you're watching right now, I'd like to challenge you to a bench off, right? I feel like I could bench more weight right now than Trey Flowers with his little skinny outline stick figure body out there playing cornerback. He could smoke me in a race, but I feel like I could bench press more weight right now than Trey Flowers. I challenge him to a competition. But Trey Flowers is one of those guys where I feel like he's so uncomfortable trying to press people at the line of scrimmage, jam people up at the line of scrimmage, because he's just going to get punked. That they dropped him back, and because of that, they were giving up all this underneath stuff. Quandre Diggs, we saw him playing single high safety, and he's fully capable of doing so. His instincts are phenomenal. He comes down, he lays the wood, very similar to Earl Thomas, and in that aspect as well. His instincts, like I said, are phenomenal. He has good ball skills. Jamal Adams, we keep him in the box, and then now we have an opportunity with Quinton Dunbar, whose instincts are off the chart. He dropped probably more interceptions than he had last year, 8 pass defense on the year, and then Shaquille Griffin, who always plays physical, 2 physical corners once again. I think you brought up the formula. I think we go just like back in 2012, 2013, when we have those 2 physical corners on the outside with really good instincts, and that is the key. Quinton Dunbar made the comparison to Richard Sherman. He's used to playing left corner. We're probably going to use him at right corner, but regardless, his instincts are phenomenal. We have to let our safeties and our secondary in general be the difference for us, help our defensive line by allowing them to buy time. Quinton Dunbar can definitely do so. So can Jamal Adams. We just have to use them in the proper way.
I'm so excited to see this defense in action, man. Jamal Adams lurking around the center of the box. We haven't seen that since the likes of my favorite player, Cam Chancellor, and those were some great days. But it takes a special player to be able to play that, and we know that Jamal Adams is that special player. Sam Dog the Infamous 253 celebrating his 1K subscribers today. I just wanted to remind me to make sure to mention, shout out Jazzy Jeff, Real Talk, an Atlanta Falcons fan over in Chicago. Yep, go check out his channel, as well as Sam Dog the Infamous 253. And Unix Format says, what can you bench? Obviously asking you, but let me just pop on this picture here. You brought this up at our last meeting. This is Noah Boelter. This is the after picture. This is the before. This is how many years ago was this?
That was 2016.
So about 4 years ago.
17, yeah, somewhere there.
This is Noah Boelter, DJ Squabo, standing next to KJ Wright, and well, let me have the picture just speak for itself. Look at how big Noah is here. The exposure's not so good, but come on, camera.
Big body.
Anyway, he's huge. You were huge. You reached a peak of about 345 pounds at your heaviest, right? And that might have been around that time. And now I'm not going to make this picture look better. Just dim it down a little bit. There we go. Is that better? There we go. That's a better. Look at that, man. We're huge, dude. That's crazy. But Unix Format wants to know, what can you bench? So you're worth 345. Can you bench press your old weight?
Oh, whoa, I'm not quite there yet. That's a lot of weight. So just for reference, bench is one of those things, like, as you lose weight, that's the hardest thing to keep up big numbers. Right now, the most I've ever benched, I believe, is 267 pounds. I did that one time, but that wasn't a max out day. That's just part of my routine, and I did it pause. So I do all my bench pause. When we max out, ballpark probably 275, 280, somewhere in there. But the most I've ever gotten was 267. It was 90% of my training max, which is the number that we set for like my pause bench press max, but 267.
That's impressive. Now, you were 345 pounds, and you're now what?
214.
214. So you lost 131 pounds? Mm-hmm. That's incredible. In a period of how many years?
Well, I lost 30 pounds over the first year, and that was kind of by myself. And then I got my trainer, Jared Rose. He went to Jared's, and he helped me lose 100 pounds in 7 months to the day. And then since then, I gained a bunch of weight, got stronger. I got up to like 260 again, and then I cut down the 260 to now I'm at 214, but I'm stronger than I've ever been. So I'm trying to get that bodybuilder thing. I'm trying to look like you know what I'm saying?
The only thing I have one set of muscles that I'm proud of, and you know what I'm talking about, is these right here, baby.
Calves, killer calves.
Can't do this without like yanking my cord. Do you see that?
Look at those tree trunks.
Although it's kind of probably not exactly the best angle on it, but yeah, these suckers right here, man, that's like Popeye. That's Popeye's forearms right there, baby.
Jeez.
Those are my proudest muscles, the muscles I'm most proud of on my body. After that, it's all
as you
downhill.
should.
Somehow my calves have stayed strong and tight all these years. Sports nerd, NorbCam calves. Unix Format, another super chat, man. Thank you. He says, good job, Noah. What can you bench? No meanness. Love you guys. Keep up the work. I think you already answered that question. But yeah, that is pretty amazing. So someday, well, I guess to 345, that'd be a lot. To bench 345.
Oh, that's the goal, though. I'm gonna get there.
So your goal is to bench your heaviest weight. Like, so you just picture benching yourself, laying on your chest, and you're lifting your old heavy self, and the symbolism of lifting your old self off of you. It's like getting rid of all that in the past and everything that came with it. What a great day that would be.
Well, I mean, for the record, my deadlift, which is, deadlifting.
Isn't that the... No, wait.
So that's power clean. So deadlift is when...
Hey, I'm a lifter.
It's very close. Deadlift is where you just, like, it starts at the bottom, you just stand up with it, right? So all you have to do is stand up with the weight.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, that wasn't that far off.
But
not this thing part.
Right. A little bit easier.
This thing. Okay, yeah.
I can deadlift damn near 500 pounds. 490 is my max. So I'm trying to get to that 500. With bench, I'm trying to get that 300. With squat, we got a ways to go. My squat is not that good. It's my worst lift. I can only squat 315. But in proportion to like what I'm deadlifting 490, I'm squatting 315. It's not supposed to be that far apart. But eventually my squat will get there. Bench is my favorite lift. That's where I'd say my numbers I'm most proud of. Well, because when we started doing it, so with my trainer, I've been on this routine for about a year now. And when we started this routine, my bench max for touch and go, which is easier than pause, was 250. From my training max for pause, which we change every single week based on the results, it was set at about 225. Now it's set to 295. So that's a 70-pound difference in the weight that I'm training and I'm throwing around. So, every single week we're going to get better. And then I'm going to bench 345 one day. You better bet your buckets on it.
All right. Well, we'll want to see it on video. You got to have a video capture of that moment. When the day comes when you're going to officially make it, that attempt, you got to record it.
I'm gonna
and post it.
I hope you don't mind yelling.
Gabriel Garcia says NorbCaf. I like that. I could go with that. Maybe that should be the name of all my followers, the NorbCavs.
That's the one.
No, wait, that's a sheep. Sorry. Jolly and Waylo in the comments said, courts and juries don't even consider innocence, so your tag is wrong. But I'm glad to hear you got it right in the video. I wonder if we will ever find out exactly what that was all about. Oh, I see what you're saying, because I said Dunbar was innocent. And that was kind of a clickbait move on my part. I'm not going to lie. But, I mean, depending on how you look at it, legally speaking, if you're not guilty, you must be innocent, correct?
Wow.
And if he's not being prosecuted, the charges are being dropped, well, technically, in the courtroom, he's innocent. Am I right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way I look at it. What was the old OJ thing? If the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. Mm-hmm. That doesn't really apply here for anything, but I just thought it sounded good.
When a gun gets pulled, you do what you're told.
It doesn't really rhyme, actually.
Hey, man, you can make it rhyme. It's like rapping.
You got to put a little accent.
Pulled. You do what you're told.
You got to say it with a little more, urban touch to it.
Come on, you can sing, man. We all know you can sing. Come on, make it work. Make it work.
It's all about the inflection, right?
That's how it sounds.
Circumstantial evidence. You're late. If you guys want to send a question, feel free to do so at my email right there. norb@norbcam.com. We could get a couple answers in here if you guys want to send a personalized question, or you could also super chat. We always get those on the air. They jump out at us. Man, we just covered a whole bunch of stuff, but a lot of people are still watching, so we should maximize this attention that we've gotten. We got your show tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Tell everybody about that, because I'm going to be joining you again, because this is kind of a lot of special things about tomorrow's show. Tell everybody about what's going to be special about this broadcast, your usual Saturday broadcast, but it's not like any other Saturday broadcast. Tell them why.
Well, Norb's going to be there, first of all.
Well, that's it.
That's the most
changes
important.
Everything.
It does change the dynamics of the entire show. We're going to see how well he can hold up in Boelt Jeopardy. We play our own sports version of Jeopardy on the show every single week. We're going to touch. So I'm going to just let you know, I'm going to raise the expectations for you right now, because knowing that he was going to be on the show this week, I intentionally built the game in favor of you.
That's actually not a good idea. So
I did
it's going to make it worse now, because now that you've said that, it's going to be in my head thinking I must know this, and then you're going to ask a question that I should know the answer to, and I'm not going to get it because it's going to be even twice as. Oh, you never should have done that. You should have gone the other direction. So that way, if I got killed, you'd go, well, these are really hard questions. There's questions about sports you don't know, so it's all right. Well, no, now I'm in trouble.
I'm not going to lie. It is. There are some pretty difficult questions on that thing. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. But what I will say is I built, so there's 6 different categories. There's NFL, NBA, Seahawks, NOAA, other, MLB.
Oh, jeez.
Right? So there's 6 different categories. For MLB, I put, I think, completely Mariners questions, because you're a Mariners guy. Calvin knows nothing about the Mariners or baseball.
I don't even know half the. No, I won't even say that. I don't know anyone on the team.
You don't know anyone on the Mariners?
I mean, Kyle Seager's still there, right?
Okay, that's fine.
But I'm serious. I have not kept up at all. I mean,
Okay.
I'd be lucky to even name 3 of the guys on there now. I might have to do some
little bit
last
older,
minute check.
little bit older Mariners too. And then there's also one other game that I think you're gonna have a good chance at. It's called the Missing Link. And how we play it is, so I give you 2 terms, and there's one connecting factor that you guys have to try and get to. Whoever says the phrase first and locks it in as their answer gets credit for it. I'm also gonna give you an advantage in the game. I'm gonna give you points at the beginning of the game, by the way.
Oh, boy, so see, this is all working against me now, because he's giving me all these reasons why I should do well, and if I don't, it's going to be that much more humiliating.
But so the Missing Link is so for example, if the 2 phrases I gave you were YouTube and bridges, the connecting factor would be trolls, right? Because YouTube has trolls in the comment section. Bridges, trolls live under bridges. So the connecting factor would be trolls. That's how the game works.
I would have missed that one already. I'm just telling you. But now I understand at least. At least my mindset is wrapped around it. Okay.
But yeah, so I write questions like that for the world of sports. So we're gonna have a lot of fun with that. But tomorrow's show from 10 to 1 is gonna be the premiere of the Boelt on YouTube. We're gonna be showing you guys a whole brand new look. The setup, I'm not gonna lie, is pretty similar to this, guys. Pretty much what you're looking at right now is what you're gonna see tomorrow, because not only was he my inspiration, but he was my tutor, he was my sensei,
my apprentice, Lord.
He was my Yoda, and because of that, I'm taking a bunch of stuff after him. It doesn't get more professional than this anyway. So there's a certain cap, a certain limit, and I can't expect expect to raise the roof here. So
You could have at least changed the fonts, man, just to make it look like you were trying to look a little different from mine. People are going to watch it and go, man, they just ripped off Norb's template. You can change the fonts or the colors. What the heck, man?
My logo's in the background. That's the difference. That's the difference. But it's the premiere of our show. We talk NBA. We're going to talk NFL. Norb's going to be there, and we're going to play some games. You don't want to miss it on YouTube from 10 to 1 tomorrow on my channel, DJ Squabo.
All right. So, yes, that's 10 o'clock Pacific time, of course. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And this is the last, is this the last broadcast on KGRG?
It's on YouTube.
What?
Sorry.
That's true. I guess it's not related. Never mind. So it's not even. This is really. Yeah. Okay. Never mind.
This is the new frontier.
This is the new frontier. What am I talking about? I guess I was still thinking that it's like the last one. This is not the last of the last. It's the first of the first.
Yeah.
Okay. Never mind. Forget. Scratch that. Edit that out. No, I can't. It's live.
I got 10 days until I go to college. So this is the second to last Saturday before I leave.
That's right. It's all DJ Squabble. It's all the Boelt. It's all the YouTube. That's right.
And this is going to be where we figure out all the problems that I'm going to have hosting because I'm not as smart as him. So we're going to figure out all the problems. And then the next week, that's going to be our premiere. Like, that's when it's going to be starting to get better, okay? But this week, we're going to run through it. It's going to be a show no matter what. Even if I can't get their faces up for some reason, you'll still be able to hear them, and it'll still sound great. So tune in. And you'll get to see
Yes, watch it live. If it fails, it will be lots of fun.
Yes.
No, I'm sure you'll be good, man. It'll be fun to be in the live show. That's gonna be a lot of fun. Unix format on the super chat says, wait, where'd he go? There he is. Whom is your take on the Tyson Jones fight? Have you been following that?
Not tremendously, but
I know. I just been seeing the videos of Tyson training and stuff for it, but I don't know. I don't know who the other guy is. Tyson at 50-something years old, right?
Take Tyson. I love the chicken. I love the fighter.
Yeah. I've had that chicken. The frozen Tyson, yeah.
I'm a chicken nugget
plastic.
guy.
Yeah.
A weakness. You can tell by my figure previously.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, but not anymore.
Okay, maybe a little. I had chicken nuggets
Actually,
last
I'm
night.
curious. In everything, obviously, weight training is a big part of what you do. But how much of it was that you had to drastically alter your diet to get from 345 to 214?
Well, if you want all the secrets, you're going to have to hit up my trainer, Jared Rose. But DM me on Instagram for that if you want a trainer. But essentially, it was, while I am in love with working out, and that is something that I'm very passionate about, it is all about the diet. You can't out-eat a bad diet, as Stephen A. Smith says. And he's absolutely right about that. Or
you can't work
outwork.
I can out-eat a bad diet.
Yeah, you can't.
That's no trouble.
Outwork a bad diet. It's always easier to consume a whole bunch of calories than it is to work them off. You can run a marathon and then eat a Whopper afterwards and still gain weight. So, it comes down to controlling.
I like Whoppers too, man. like Achilles heel.
Controlling your diet and counting calories. But working out's a lot of fun too.
What was the hardest thing? Was there something like you had to really give up in order to go from this?
There's other pictures too.
Show them what I got. What I got. To go from that to this, did you have to really? Was there something you had to really have a hard time saying goodbye to in order to kind of say, if I'm going to be serious about this, I've got to stop eating this which I love?
Honestly, I found a way around it, and I just know what my weaknesses are. When I eat a lot, and I like to splurge eat. So what I do is I have 2 meals a day, pretty much nowadays, where once in the morning and once in the afternoon. It was better when I was like working a job throughout the day. I quit my job because I'm about to go to school, but once I start getting school going again, it'll be a little bit easier. Where once in the morning and once at night, I can eat as much as I can throughout that period, and then I go 8 hours without eating and do that again. Because realistically, in a meal, if you're eating at least somewhat healthy, you're going to stay within 1,000 calories, maybe 1,500 calories. With the way that I work out as well, 5 days a week, that's going to turn into a whole lot of muscle. And then you do that twice a day, you're not going to be able to out-eat yourself by eating like 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 calories in a day. So the way that I did the whole weight loss thing was I started counting calories, and that made it so that some days when I feel like, okay, I'm gonna need a lot of food today, I have to make it healthy. So I'd eat a whole bunch of, I eat big old bowls of salad. I eat a whole Caesar salad bag from Winco all by myself. I still do that, and that's
you
not
still put the dressing and stuff on there.
Oh yeah, and I get the light Caesar. The light Caesar's the one. But regardless, I still eat the entire thing, and I have something on the side of that. Usually some protein, get some chicken, get some, a whole bunch of, amongst other things. But I like to go baked chicken. But regardless,
Grilled chicken, that's good.
Pork chops, steak. But you can still eat a whole lot of food some days. Other days, if you want to eat unhealthy, you want to have cakes. I was still eating cake when I lost the weight, but I was eating cake and nothing else for the entire day. And so that's kind of how you can still allow yourself to enjoy the foods that you're eating while still losing weight.
Yeah, you could have a whole you could have a whole part of your channel that's all about working out and stuff, man. That might be the other side. There's a sports side, and then there's just the health and workout and diet program from the Boelt. You got the Boelt Body, the Boelt Body program, Body by Boelt.
Oh.
Body by Boelt. Merch. Whoop. I can see it, man. I don't even try to do that. I had a question in here from AAG Grieve. Not sure if it's Grev or Grieve. Do you guys remember that Trey was a college safety? Also, do you think we will get AB later in the year? I don't follow college that closely, so I wasn't aware. Were you aware of that?
Oh yeah.
Were you? So
We talked about it before.
okay, well, I forgot. But well, I don't know. Is that I guess, are they asking because, well, this is why we should not be that surprised that he's had his struggles at corner, because he was a safety, and safety and corner are two very different positions.
Yeah. Well, and with safety, you're supposed to never let anyone on the field get behind you. When you're playing deep, nobody can get behind you. That's a lot different than pressing people at the line of scrimmage to help our sorrowful pass rush. And that's what we've been asking, or that's what we needed to ask of Trey Flowers versus what he's used to doing. So I can understand the discrepancy in what he's comfortable doing, staying back, being behind the defense. The problem is, that's why he had so many tackles last year. It's because he let all these incompletions happen right underneath him. And came up and made the tackle rather than breaking him up. So the style is what needs to change. We need to teach it to him, and if we're unable to teach it to him, then that's why we brought in Dunbar, who would have led our team with picks last year in only 11 games.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I saw Trey Flowers, which looked like he had a 10-yard cushion on a guy.
I thought it was flag football.
And I was like, you got an automatic, like, first down. You're just gonna take five steps and pretty much just throw a quick out, and he's done. And we saw that way too many times. So yeah, well, maybe that's it. We'll see. At this point, if Quinton Dunbar doesn't get suspended, well, maybe we won't have to worry about that.
That's the goal.
Fingers crossed. The sports nerd threw a question. Do any of you want to be on my first roundtable this Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Pacific, for an NFL news update and trivia show created by me? I got to check my schedule. Tuesday's going to be tough for me. So I may not be available, unfortunately, but we'll see. I appreciate you reaching out, man. I think congratulations on doing your own trivia and sports. We know you've got good trivia put together from the previous show, where yours was the first, Sports Nerds was the first trivia show ever put together by a user that I put on here. So with very interesting results, revealed that I was terrible and he was really good at it.
So maybe I should. What time again is it? 2 p.m. Pacific time.
2 p.m.
I'll check the schedule.
Fat Kid Ori resubmitted his questions. We already talked about John Schneider. When will the show be next week? Well, we'll know that better. I don't even know when the show's going to be next week. I mean, we always do our show Wednesdays. Our regular time now for our roundtable, just for your calendars, Wednesday at, what did we say? 4 o'clock? I think 4 o'clock.
4.
That, which really means 4:30 Pacific time. So Wednesday, you can put on your calendar. We'll be doing another roundtable Wednesday.
4 o'clock, 4:30
Calvin time. But yeah, just somewhere around 4-ish. Wouldn't that be funny if all the TV guys just had that kind of time schedule? Well, The Walking Dead season premiere at 8-ish. Might be 8:30. Depends on when the cast shows up.
8:30 Rick time.
So I will answer one question on here. What is your favorite vacation place? That's my guess. I'll let you go first on that, Noah. Calvin. I had Calvin on my mind. I mean, Calvin time going through my head. Noah, do you have a favorite vacation place?
You know, once every blue moon, I get to go to this place, and it's always been a dream of mine. But Norb's Den. That's my favorite vacation spot. I'm living the dream right now.
You're on vacation right here.
This is it. This is as good as it gets. I'm going to go to college and cry because I'll never be able to come back until, I at least visit. So, yep, this is...
Well, that's a really good answer. You can wipe the brown off your nose right now. It's a little heavy. No, that's very kind of you. That's very kind of you.
Hawaii.
Hawaii's great. I would say I'm going to cheat and throw a couple of answers out because I can't decide. But for sure, Hawaii, haven't been there in a while. But you know what I really miss is we haven't been to a Disney theme park in too long. There was a time from between 2007 and like 2014. I think we went every year. And we had, at one time, we went so many times, we actually had an annual pass. We went down to Disneyland like 4 or 5 times in a year.
Back in your prime.
Back when the kids were young and I had a little bit more time and stuff like that. I haven't been in a long time. I think the last time I went to, it was Paris Disneyland, 2015, I want to say. It's been 5 years since we've been to a Disney park.
So you're a big roller coaster guy.
I'm a big roller coaster guy. I like roller coasters. I just don't like things that spin in a circle repeatedly. I'm going to throw up. Yeah, I don't do well with motion sickness of repeated motions in the same pattern. That's why I can't go deep sea fishing. This thing, I'll be hurling the whole time. So, but yeah, no, I love roller coaster simulation rides, all that kind of stuff. I miss it. It's been too long. But I must say, one of the coolest places, we just went there 2 summers ago for my cousin's wedding. We went to Cancun, an all-inclusive resort in Cancun, courtesy of my parents. That place was awesome. And have you ever been to an all-inclusive resort? Do you know what an all-inclusive resort means?
I don't know nothing about that.
All-inclusive, guys. This means when you go there and you're in the hotel, you can eat and drink as much as you want. It's completely the negative to the Boelt Body by Boelt. It's the anti-Body by Boelt resort, okay? Because you could go, there's this place 24/7 that you can get. They'd make crepes for you, an ice cream stand that's open 24/7, buffets galore. So it's like there's all these restaurants, and you can just walk in and get whatever you want anytime. That certain restaurants are open at certain times. They have French food, Japanese food, Mexican food, Italian, standard American food. I mean, it was freaking amazing.
That's where the calves got built up.
No, the calves stayed here and everything else got big. That's kind of how it works. But no, it was so good. But the kids had a great time. It was,
I bet.
Unlimited ice cream. I mean, are you kidding me? Yeah, we had a blast. But that was good. But, like a swim up bar, so you could swim up and get your drinks. The girls have, of course, non-alcoholic drinks. But the fact they can go up there and have a virgin strawberry daiquiri. You're swimming in the pool and just swim up to the bar and order yourself a daiquiri. They felt like big girls, And so that was a lot of fun, man. That was a blast. So, yeah, I'd say that probably is the highlight.
Have you ever been on a cruise?
I have been on a cruise. I've been on a couple of them.
A couple? Where you been, man?
Yeah, and I went on a first cruise was in, let's see, the first one is in Mexico. Went on a Mexican cruise. Actually been on 3 cruises. So I did a Mexican cruise, Puerto Vallarta, Mazatlan, and Cabo San Lucas. So that was on a cruise. And then we did another one in the Caribbean, the Bahamas. And then...
That's like a dream.
Yeah. And then we did, the most recent one was going to, we did the Alaska cruise with my kids.
Okay.
So the whole family, my sister's side of the family, my side of the family, and we all went to an Alaska cruise, and again, all you can eat. It's terrible. It was to a point where it was too much good food. I mean, there's a point where you just go, I don't want to eat anymore. it's too much. I mean, it's like all the. We're talking 5 courses and stuff, right? The appetizers, the soup, the main dish, the desserts, and all that stuff. Chocolate fountains. I mean, you're like, I mean, all these pastries. I mean, and you feel like I got to get my money's worth. So of course you're gonna get all up, but after a while, you're just like, I can't eat anymore. I mean, I just can't.
It's not worth it.
That filet mignon, it just doesn't sound good. Too much filet mignon, lobster, crab, eggs Benedict. Just give me a bowl of cereal. Seriously, it gets to that point. So, have you?
I've been on one.
Okay, was it a family cruise or like a singles cruise?
So it was when I was a kid. It was with my mom.
Okay.
We went with like some family friends and everything. And I was a kid at the time. So
kid being, well, to me, you're still a kid. So kid like under 10?
Like kids club.
Okay, so you're
kids
not
club.
even not sub-teenage.
Yeah, and so I was super young. First of all, the food, just like you said, except I didn't get to that point where it just wasn't good anymore. I was still eating the whole time. I was that one kid that was still eating while everyone else was playing. I was a big boy. But then there was this one tournament that we had, and I remember I got so competitive with this tournament. It was it was a game, and I forget what it was called, but the game was, there was a ball on the ground, and you were all in an arena with all the other kids, and you had to like hold the ball, keep the ball on the ground, and like roll it into each other's feet, and like you'd have to like, once you got it, you'd like control it with your hands, and you try and hit somebody with it on their feet, and then they try and jump over it, and then they try and like grab it and hit other people. I remember I came in 3rd place in like the final tournament. Like we'd been training all week, and then the final day there was like a tournament, and I came in 3rd, and I cried because I didn't come in 1st. But I was still, I had a lot of fun doing it. It was so much fun. Just the way that they do the kids club on those things, like they won me over. I was sold.
That's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun. I remember on the Caribbean cruise, I was walking from the pool, just going back to my room, and all these women grabbed me. They said, "We need you, come over here!" And they yanked me into the entertainment ballroom, whatever it was.
You're back into some trouble.
Suddenly, yeah, I don't know what are they doing to me, but I was game. So, so all of a sudden, I was thrown into this fake beauty pageant contest where they dressed all the guys up as women, makeup, the outfits, everything. I won. I won the pageant, man. It was the calves. I was flexing those all day. But
hey, lady.
Yeah, it was fun. So yeah, it's nonstop fun on those things, man. I highly recommend for you youngsters. I know there's a lot of youngsters out there. I never did this. I always did the family cruise thing. Then obviously when I had my own family, took them on there. But if you can afford to do it, and in your in your 20s, single and all that stuff, you got to go on a singles cruise, man. That's one thing I wish I had done before becoming the domesticated man that I am today. Just because I had some friends who did that, and the stories I heard. Man, I wish I could have had a little bit of that fun. Because I was always with the parents and the kids and stuff like that. But man, to go on a cruise where you're basically, again, all you can drink, all you can eat, and you're stuck on the ship with all these other people and just, you're on deck, pool, bikinis, all that stuff. I mean, anyway. Maybe right now is not the best time to go on a cruise.
Getting carried away.
I don't know. Maybe it's really cheap time to get a cruise because, when the start of this COVID thing happened, man, the cruise ships were like the first thing, like, stay away. But, I'm
maybe
sure they're offering some deals now.
You'll have to quarantine on it. Even longer stay. Pay for
That's
a 5-day, get 14.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sure they're offering deals. I'm sure people right now are not exactly jumping on it. So, I have one more food story I got to bring up. Aren't you guys glad you tuned into my channel? You're getting so much, Seahawks relevant team news, and you can really update. Talking about buffets. Give me some more Seahawks news. Come on. But so I went to this was 2014, early in the season. It might have been the Broncos game. It was after we won the Super Bowl, and I think we played the Broncos at home. And I remember it was early in the season, like in September. And so we went up to the club level because my buddy Mark Collins, Save Our Seahawks, he had club passes. And so he gave it to me and Pat and my dad. So we went up there, and and there was another friend of Mark's who was attending the game, and he had his name was Juan. And he'd been up to here. He's like, "Oh yeah, the club's great, man." It's like, and he'd point over to the buffet, and he's like, "Oh man, this is I've done this on Sounders games. This buffet is great, man. And, you know, it's all included." It's like, "Oh really? That's awesome. Okay." And they say, "Dad, you want to go get some food?" And he's like, "Well, I'm not really that hungry." I said, "Well, I'm not either, but they got crab and lobster. We gotta go get some, right?" So we went over there and started getting, filling our plates up. Again, we weren't even hungry. It was a buffet, but we're not hungry. And there's nothing worse to go to a buffet when you're not hungry because you have all this food. It's like, "Oh man, full, but I have like all this food I could eat." But we got, put a bunch of stuff on our plate. So we start eating, and then Mark comes over and he's like, "What are you guys doing?" We're like, "We went to just get some of the free buffet." He goes, "That's not free. It's like $85 a plate." So apparently we were misinformed because our buddy Juan had, when he went to the Sounders game, apparently it was free. But for a Seahawks game, it's like $80 a plate. So, but we'd already started eating the food. I was like, I'd just taken my first bite. I was like, "Norb, what are you doing?" So I was too late, right? It was too late. We were already on the hook, and we just felt like fools. Because again, we weren't even hungry. It'd been one thing we're starving. It's like, "Well, it's $80. We're starving. We need to eat." We just ate like a hot dog outside the stadium and a soda and chips. So we were like, it was just more like bonus. Like, well, it's free. Let's eat it. Anyway,
That's like forgetting to cancel the debit card or not.
that's worse though, because I knew I was getting charged for that stupid thing, for the freaking Kahoot trivia.
Norb's got some funny money
$240.
spending stories.
But what was
bro.
the nice thing on that though? It was close to my birthday, so my buddy Pat bought my dinner for me, or my brunch for me.
Pat's a
Thank you,
good
Pat.
guy.
Pat's
Pat
a
is
good
a
guy.
good guy.
He's a good guy.
He always was offering me food at the watch parties. What a guy, man. We didn't even know each other like that back
I
then.
know, but, because I figure, friends of ours, friends of yours, that kind of thing. Anyway,
guy.
so we got a few email questions. Might as well get a few more going in here before I wrap this show up, because I think we ran out of our news topics a long time ago. Nick
Couple vacations ago.
LaBow says, "Noah going to be on the panel when he goes to college." Thanks, Nick. Are you?
No, I'm dropping this.
I mean, it's not like we were in person anyway, but again, I don't know what your college schedule's going to be like, but I assume at 4 o'clock on Wednesday, your classes are over by that time, right?
I build my schedule around our collabs.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Yes, so yes, sports nerd, yes, Nick, he's going to be there. Fact or again. Have you ever been on a swim team before? I'm like the worst swimmer in the world. I mean, I can swim okay.
A to B.
But, if I was, if like the boat sank in the ocean somewhere and I had to swim for it, you might as well just feed me to the sharks. I'm dead. I might be able to swim a few yards and then I'm like... But, I don't know what it is. I could be wrong, but what's the ironic thing is most Filipinos that I know, at least in my family, we come from a country that is islands, thousands of islands surrounded by water, but most Filipinos don't know how to swim. I don't know why that is. Actually, I have a hunch as to why that is. But like my family is a bunch of non-swimmers. My wife can't swim. I mean, I think what it is that in the Philippines, it's not like here. And I have no excuse. I grew up here, so there's no excuse for me not being able to swim. I swim okay, a little, but I think culturally, people in the Philippines,
You float.
I can float, but throw a few waves at me and I'm in trouble. But I think as culturally in the Philippines, there's just not a lot of swimming pools, and in our culture, Filipinos don't like to be out in the sun. It's like the opposite here. Everybody wants to get tan, right? Oh, I'll get my tan, get the stuff on there.
Okay.
Filipinos don't want to be in the sun because in the Philippines, the darker your skin is, the more it means you are lower class in the world. Because if you look at all the stars and the politicians and stuff, or just the really wealthy people, they're all really super fair skinned. Because that means you don't have to be out in the sun working. You're indoors, you're covered, you're living the life of luxury. And so the people who are out in the field, the people who are working it, huffing it, putting themselves out of the elements, they're the ones who are, they got to work their butts off. And their skin color reflects that. So I think that has a lot to do with it. And there's not a lot of indoor pools in the Philippines, at least not that I'm aware of, at least, again, from my family experience. So I think that's a lot of the reason why I'm guessing that even though we're surrounded by water, most Filipinos I'm aware of, generally not great swimming people. Are you a good swimmer? You look like you have a swimmer's body.
I'm alright. I'm cool. I'm not crazy. I just
Because you're long. Because it looks like with those arms, and you probably get a lot of, you get a lot of pull a lot of water with each stroke.
I get A to B.
Of course, back when you were 345, you could float for sure. but if you're in the canoe,
I had a floater's body.
The canoe was not gonna. You were not gonna get that canoe.
Man.
Over.
Get on my case.
Austin Muck sent an email. Says, "What do you think about Colby Parkinson? Also, congratulations on the weight loss."
Thank you.
Colby Parkinson. We're talking about the tight end, aren't we?
Yeah, that is the
That tight end is, but he had a little injury setback, didn't he, during the offseason over the summer?
Well, I don't think he's going to have a big impact.
Well, not with all the guys we kind of have ahead, but he looks like long-term future, though.
You think?
Isn't he the guy that's really big? He's got good hands.
He's definitely pretty big. Got decent hands. I think he had 1 touchdown last year. And I'll double check it just to make sure. But when I did all my,
I remember looking at it thinking, wow, this guy's tall, and I feel like he's got that kind of build that could allow for him to be a pretty good red zone threat.
Right.
Obviously, Will Dissly to me,
6'7", 250.
Yeah, so he's got a body that could, if he knows how to use it,
right,
do some damage.
So 1 touchdown last year, 7 the year before. So the ceiling is pretty high when we, if we can hopefully get that out of him. Remember, Will Dissly wasn't the most catch-happy tight end.
No, he was a
college.
blocking tight end.
So we could still find the best out of him, but the problem is we need snaps. And that's what he's going to struggle with early on, especially it's going to be a hard transition for rookies. Season. And so because of that, I feel like the odds are kind of stacked against Colby Parkinson, at least for this year, maybe the next season. But I don't think he's going to have a big role this year. Maybe the two.
No, I don't think this year, but I'm talking about when Greg Olsen is long gone. And Greg Olsen's probably a rental player for this year, right? Then he goes to the broadcast booth. He's already got a deal with, isn't he, Fox? Is he going to be a broadcasting commentator on Fox? He's got that deal already set up, so he's already got his landing cushion when this season's over. Noah, this is from the sports nerd. Noah, what make you start looking up at my face during the trivia? Just wondering. So, for those of you who missed, when I had the sports nerds trivia on the show, at a certain point, you started talking about how, as you were trying to read or digest the question, you started watching the sports nerd's face, and based on whether he smiled or not, told you that was the tell as to whether the question was true or false. So he's asking, at what point did that actually kick in? Because you never once used that on me. You used to psychoanalyze me, but you tried to look at my face, and you never at least indicated that there was some tell that my face was given away.
See, and with you, I've tried it in the past, and it didn't get me anywhere, so I just put an end to it. But with him, first time I did it, it worked. And then it led a comeback, and then I ended up winning the trivia because I originally started looking at his face. So it started way back when the true-false came in. Right, as soon as
it was a true-false. It was a true-false
It was
questions.
the true-false questions, because we get there, and it's like true or false. And I'm just thinking, okay, I'm really bad at true-false questions. I always overthink them. Yeah. I hate them. So I need some way to get an edge here. And I was listening to the question, I'm like, I don't know the answer to these. So I was just like, I got to get an edge somehow. And so then I see his face, and I was like, oh. I was like, wait a minute, hold on. See if we can just read him a little bit. I'm a student of body language. I'm a student of the body, of reading people. I worked security over the summer, and one of the things that I honestly I had to deal with, my job was to walk around a parking lot and to ask a bunch of people that are loitering. Oftentimes it'd be homeless people to move along off of the private property. Well, I worked there from March all the way until August. And so throughout this time, I actually learned a lot about body language, because there would be people that every single day I would work security, and I would see these people, I'd greet these people, I'd talk to these people, I would communicate with them, and I would think nothing of it. And then a week before I quit my job, somebody would tell me, oh yeah, they're not supposed to be here. They were permanently banned 2 years ago. And so this whole time, I didn't know that they were supposed to be here, but I watched how they interacted with me. I watched how they didn't know what I knew at first. And then as they started to realize I don't know that they're not supposed to be here, their attitude started to change a little bit. Then towards the end of it, I started to address them more. And then they'd come to me, and then they'd see me and then turn around and go the other way. So it's all about, it's a chess match. It's about how much do you know? How much do I know? How's that going to get us from point A to point B? I learned a lot about body language and a lot about how we interact based off of that. I took public speaking classes. I've taken a lot of classes where it's about speaking in front of people, and it's about kind of how the human body naturally wants to react to certain situations and how to do the opposite. I've looked into being a police officer. I've looked into doing, the justice side of things. And so I was just looking at him, I'm like, he's a little kid. He's a kid. If I were him and I were trying to be sneaky and I put false, I'd smile. And that's what he did. So I went with it. And I was like, okay, if this works, I'm going to stick with it for the rest of the show. And it worked.
Well, and let that be a lesson to you, sports nerd. You got to work on that poker face. If you want your trivia to, be tipping off your contestants at the trivia. So that should be interesting to see how that goes next time. Watch, you'll be like not smiling the whole time. It should be.
And then towards the end, it did get a little, like he had that little cringy little. Just kind of smiling, kind of not. Lewis, I love you, man. You're phenomenal. It was a great test. Any quiz that I win is a phenomenal quiz. So, shout out to you.
I saw a funny comment in here. Oh, that dude said Norb got that same smirk all game long during the cahoots. Do I have a smirk? Do I smirk?
You do this right here. You lean forward. And true or false? Go. And you kind of just sit right here.
But that's not a smirk. That's like...
That's the look that I always see from you. I'm like, and then you hit him with the pose, the model pose. Duck lips. Just a little bit. It's a look only handsome people can pull off.
Yeah, so let me know when they show up. Have someone do that for us.
Behind the green screen.
Let's see, a couple more emails in here. Norb and Noah, will AB and Josh Gordon both being an option for the Seahawks? Who would you guys prefer? I'll take that one. Crazy as Antonio Brown is, if I guess all things being equal, and it's only being available at the end of the year, we know he's suspended for 8 games. Potentially more if the civil suit doesn't go his way, which means minimum, 10 games suspension if that's added on to that. So we're talking about maybe 6 games. If I had to choose between the two and it was going to be right before the playoffs, I would take Antonio Brown.
I agree.
mean, it's crazy, but as far as just from a pure risk-reward, minimal risk, because by that time we've done fine without him. But why not? If you're going to go take a chance on a guy, why not take a chance on the guy who's got the most over-the-top, high-ceiling potential to take your offense over the top? Josh Gordon, I think, is a better fit in terms of the longer term. If he actually became available, say, next week or by game 1 or 2, I would take Josh Gordon at the start of the season versus Antonio Brown. But Antonio Brown won't be available because he's going to be suspended for at least 8 games. So Josh Gordon, as we saw last year, was not even, his name didn't even come up. He wasn't a distraction. He wasn't a problem on the team. I'd keep him around. But if I had to choose one to bring us into the playoffs, yeah, I would take Antonio Brown. What about you?
I feel like Antonio Brown fits the offense that we were just talking about. We want Seattle to adapt. Imagine us running that spread offense, no huddle, with AB on the outside. And there's all the space in the world that he could just dance on people defensively. That's what I would love to see. I agree. I'm taking AB. His ceiling is higher than Josh Gordon's, even though they both have tremendously high ceilings. AB was at the peak of his career when he left the NFL. Josh Gordon, not necessarily. So I'd have to go with AB, even though he's older, which we found out the hard way.
Yeah, would not have thought that, but yeah, he's older. But the upside, he's just done more. I mean, Josh Gordon has just been sort of a perennial disappointment. Never quite lived up to his potential. Whereas AB lived up to his potential for several seasons. It's just recently that he's kind of fallen on hard times off the field. So we'll see. He's got to get his stuff together because that guy still's got gas in the tank, but unfortunately throwing it away at the peak of his career right now, and he's got to make the most of it because he's at 31. Didn't we say? Was he 31?
I think so.
Anyway.
That's a funny question.
Wait, which one? The next one?
The second one.
This one?
No. I can't read that one.
Oh, the second part. Oh, this. Sorry, I skipped ahead. From Fat Kid Ori, he's just rattling off the questions in email. Again, if you have a question, we've been going for an hour and 47 minutes here, which I never expected it was going to go that long. So I'm going to cut this off at 2 hours, which means 12 minutes from now. So you have just a few more minutes to put your questions in. If you want to send one in, just that email right there, norb@norbcam.com. Ask Norb. And the question from Fat Kid Ori, he's submitted like 3 or 4 already. He says, hello, Norb, what was your college major? That would be broadcast journalism and political science. That's a double major, by the way. I don't even like politics. I just double major. I figure I'm here this long. Let's instead of just getting a specialty degree, I'll just double major in it. I can't even stand politics, and I got a major in it. Go figure. And that's why I don't want to talk about it. I don't like to talk about politics. And yet I majored in it. I really should have been in film school. That's really what my love, my passion was. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make films. But anyway,
I was watching your trailer, by the way, for what was the one movie, the scary one?
Afraid.
Yes.
You saw the trailer for that?
The trailer is so good.
Oh man, it's out there.
Were you the voice?
No. We had at the time. If you notice that in movies nowadays, you don't have the trailer voice. The trailer voice is gone. If you watch a movie trailer, like the standard theater, not like the parodies and stuff or radio ones, but if you watch the standard trailer, they don't use the voice anymore. It's just dialogue with text. Somehow the voice guy just sort of got, we're done with you. We don't need you anymore. The trend is gone. So all those famous guys are gone. But when we did our trailer, because our movie came out in 2009, released by Lionsgate, and so when it did come out, they still had the voice thing. And there was one guy who was doing all the trailers. His name was Ashton Smith, and Ashton Smith did the voice for our trailer. Freed, and he's got this. This sounds like he's been smoking cigarettes his whole life. Got a nice deep, raspy, guttural voice. It's really cool. But check it out. Look up Frayed the movie. Just Google it or look on YouTube and you'll find it. And a bunch of pirated versions of it probably out there too. And I've never seen you angry on your channel before. What does your angry mode look like? Well, not on the vlogs. If you watch some of my game reactions, especially from like earlier days, you'll see a lot of angry faces. Super Bowl 49 and a bunch of other games. But actually, my angry face kind of looks like a modified Chrysostomo face. This is Chrysostomo, right? Eee! So you take those eyebrows, lose the smile, and then change the mouth to a frown. That's my angry face. Son of a... And that's my angry face. You can see a lot of that. Just watch any of the losses I'd have on a game. Cardinals, Rams.
It hurts.
Yeah, it sucks.
It hurts.
Let's see. Cameron Hughes, can you join my Madden Mobile League? Oh, I heard about that Madden Mobile.
I heard about it.
Seahawks Martin. I'm waiting. Isn't it like just a couple more weeks and then the real Madden, 2021 comes up? I gotta get that.
I pre-ordered it.
I gotta get on that before I miss my chance. The sports nerd says this will never happen, but would you want me to be on the Boelt?
Hey.
The sports nerd wants to know. I like that sort of passive aggressive suggestion. It's never gonna happen, but would you want me to be on the Boelt?
It's completely up for debate. I'm always open to have guests.
All right. Well, there you go. So the door is open. Just like Marshawn Lynch could come back to Seattle. The door is technically open.
Wow.
Higher chance, I think, of the panel than that. Mr. Pickle Pepper. Remember you from the trivia. Mr. Pickle Pepper. What do you think of Week 2 versus the Patriots? That's going to be a good game. First primetime game of the season. First, the home opener. Bill Belichick and the Evil Empire. Sans Tom Brady. Kind of takes the fun out when those guys aren't there. But still, it's the Patriots. And everybody hates the Patriots. Everybody in Seattle definitely hates the Patriots. I feel optimistic about that game. Now, it's going to be weird because I say that and then I remember, God, we have no fans. There's not going to be any energy in the stadium unless they pipe in some crowd noise. Speaking of piped in crowd noise, so I've been watching some Mariners games. Barely. I watched like part of one. Just I wanted to see what the cardboard cutouts looked like. But when I was listening to it, they actually had cheering and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. They're manufacturing that. Do you know, is the sound being piped in and that's what's being heard in the stadium? Or are they just piping it into the soundtrack of the broadcast to make it sound to the viewer like a real game? Do you have any idea?
They pipe it into the stadium, I believe.
Really?
Because, and the NBA is going on too, and they're pumping in the same sound effects that teams have at their home arenas. Right. Situational, and they have crowd noise too. So it's all, they're trying to create it, make it as real for the players as possible.
And that's likely they'll do the same thing for the NFL too.
Oh yeah. No, they're absolutely planning on it.
It seems, I was talking today on my way back from golf about this. And we're talking about sports and the crowd noise influencing the game. And of all the sports, it seems to me that football is the one game that is most affected by the noise. Wouldn't you agree? More than any other sport. Because you look at baseball, right? You could play a baseball game, no sound at all, and what you have to do pretty much is unaffected by the crowd, in my opinion, right? I mean, maybe you get a little extra energy when you feel that, but baseball is so concentrated, right? You got to focus on your pitch, on the hitting, right? It's not one of those, I'm going to get all ramped up for this next pitch. If you do that, you're going to get messed up. Mm-hmm. So baseball is very different. Basketball, I think so, but you don't have to communicate. There's not like a noise factor that affects your ability to play your game. Hockey, soccer, I feel it's the same way. So I feel like football is a totally different thing. That's the one game where we've seen it, where the crowd noise can completely mess up a team's flow, especially on offense when they have to snap counts and huddle and calling audibles and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, do you agree?
Well, I agree, but I feel like there's some science behind it that we should put our fingers on. So, first of all, with football, there's more players than in basketball and in baseball, and because of that, there's going to have to be more communication. Also, they're a lot closer than in baseball. So, there's the outfielders can yell to each other, but they're not yelling to the catcher. The outfielders don't yell to the catcher. That has to get telephoned all the way down. Whereas in football, the players are communicating with their player groups, but they're audibling all the way out. They're communicating all the way from the center all the way to the wide receiver. There's communication going on. They're talking to the ref.
And in baseball, use trash cans and stuff to communicate with each other, right? Oh wait, no, that's just the Astros. Sorry. Go on.
And the other thing is that football is one of the few sports where you could say crowd noise is truly preventative. Like, if there's a full count at the bottom of the ninth in a baseball game, okay, a crowd could get involved right then. They could get loud, and that could impact the batter's chances of hitting the ball. That's a situation where, okay, you can see the crowd getting involved. But in football, they have to snap the ball every single time. So as soon as they start to get ready, as soon as the ref blows that whistle, and even before that, the 12s are already on their feet, yelling, screaming. We know when the play is going to happen, so we can get loud before it so that they can't change their audibles, make their pre-snap adjustments. Because of that concentrated focus when the play is going to happen, we can prevent it. Whereas in basketball, it's harder to be preventative. Like, you don't know when a great play is going to happen in basketball. You don't know, like, you can start to feel momentum starting to build for an away team specifically, but like cheering in basketball, it's more of a good thing. So like Ray Allen, the 2013 NBA Finals, when he hits that shot, I'm talking about against the Spurs, that three-pointer, that was one of the most electric shots, and the crowd goes nuts afterwards. But it's not like the crowd, had he been on the away team, would have been super loud before.
Maybe a free throw. Maybe the free throw line is the one place that the crowd has that predictable, because there's a moment he's looking right. He's like, right here. This is the parts, so if you're in the line of his vision, mm-hmm. You're waving your hands and all that stuff. But again, I still don't know how much sound affects that. Just like the same way, 3-2 pitch at the bottom of the ninth, mm-hmm. The crowd noise is not throwing off your ability to see that pitch.
Well, and it's almost also the opposite, too. Kyle Guy, the NCAA tournament last year for Virginia, I remember he got fouled, and he had to hit 3 free throws. I think it was to put the game to OT. I think it was to go to OT. It might have been a chance to win the game. I think it was in the Elite Eight or the Final Four, and it was against Auburn. I think it was in the Final Four, right? Kyle Guy gets fouled. He has 3 free throws, and he goes to the line, and it's dead silent. That's almost just as bad as when it's extremely loud. Because every time you make it, everyone's loud. But when it gets quiet, you're like, dude, there's 60,000 people watching me right now. And that's just the live ones.
That's why I wonder about that with golf. Because, in golf, you can't cheer till after the play's over, right? So at the moment they're all about to hit the shot or the putt, they got signs, quiet, and all that stuff. But I do think that actually adds more to the tension because it's like, I was like, just you can hear yourself breathe, your heartbeat, and that would be unnerving. But again, it's cause and effect. Football has the most direct on it. So that brings us back to that question. We had a long way of answering that. So with that game against the Patriots, I guess the question is, so when they pipe in the sound noise, are they going to equate it to what the sound levels would be when it's the home team versus when it's the opposite? The sound noise would just be like just a rumble. So are they going to really ramp it up to where it would kind of sound like when the Patriots have the ball? They're going to make it louder and more raucous, and then when Russell Wilson's got the ball, it's just going to be kind of a murmur? Because that's how it should be. That's how it would be. But that would be unfair also for whoever the sound engineer is. Like, yo, man. Oh God, I can't.
We're breaking records.
The glass is shattering.
Earthquake in Seattle. No fans in the stadium. Just pumping that much noise.
Anyway, but I mean that is the missing factor in all this, and to me that takes away that home field advantage. Which when I first think we're going to win this game, very confident that we're going to beat the Patriots at home, the home opener, because it's going to be so electric. It's the first home primetime game, and they go, yeah, but it's a primetime game with nobody in the stands. So all of a sudden, that which I think is such a big hype factor is now not going to be, especially if they don't make the sounds like it would be in reality. And I don't think they will, because it'd be unfair to crank it up super loud to the point where they'd be disrupted, because that's what would have happened. But they won't do it because it'd be unfair. So we lose that advantage, because that's one of our stadium's benefits, right? So I don't know. I guess the long answer to that is I guess I'm a little less. I still think we would win that game. Hard to say because I don't know nothing what this team looks like at this point. But I still think we will win that game. But I'm just a little less confident than I would be if it was a home game when I knew the crowd would be there.
So check this out, right? So I know you're not a big NBA guy. But when the NBA came back, the Lakers played the Clippers to open the reopening of the regular season. The Lakers play the Clippers, and a lot of people, including myself, think the Clippers have the more talented roster. Even though they didn't have Lou Will, Lemon Pepper Lou, or Montrezl Harrell for the game, they still had Kawhi Leonard and Paul George versus Anthony Davis and LeBron James. So it's an extremely talented roster versus extremely talented roster. There's no crowd. They're pumping in the noise, but it's a quiet gym, right? And so you can hear the people barking. You've already heard a lot of people talking about how Chris Paul, because he's the floor general that he is, calling plays out left and right for OKC, how successful he has been in the bubble. But between the Lakers and the Clippers, it goes down to the wire, and the Lakers end up winning on a LeBron James game winner, and then LeBron shutting down Paul George, Kawhi Leonard on defense. One of the biggest differences in that game, you think about it, the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard is one of the quietest superstars we've ever seen. That's why it's hard, and why he'll never be the face of the NBA, Kawhi Leonard, is because he's too quiet, whereas LeBron James is a vocal leader. And Anthony Davis, the Lakers have a lot more rah-rah guys than the Los Angeles Clippers, and that's why in a bubble where there's not as much noise, they were able to win that ball game. Well, you look at, if we're in a bubble for a game between Seattle and New England, who's more rah-rah, Seattle or New England? It's not even close. Seattle has Russell Wilson, who's a very vocal leader, while they have Cam Newton. The rest of that roster has been trained and disciplined to do your job and to focus on that. While it's okay to celebrate afterwards, you go home or you go over, what are you going to do? Butt bump Bill Belichick? Like, you'll knock him over and end his career. Like, it would not be good if you try and do that. The New England Patriots are not nearly as raw within their locker room, as hype, as believe in each other, as get hyped on the sideline as Seattle is. And that's why Seattle's going to have a major advantage. I think Seattle dominates that game anyways, because I think Cam Newton was a rash decision by Bill Belichick, whereas the Patriots, all along, they've been planning on going for a next year approach, get one of the quarterbacks, Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence, in next year's draft, and then move forward and rebuild. And I think that Cam Newton was just because, he's still on the market and he's extremely cheap right now, we could bring him in. I think the Patriots are a really bad team this year. I think they were going to come in fourth in their division before Cam Newton, and then they bring in Cam Newton and lose the rest of the roster to opting out to coronavirus with Marcus Cannon and Rex Burkhead and Dante Hightower. And now their team's going to be even more struggling this year. Because of that, I say this is going to be a dominant Seattle victory, 10-17 point win. And I think our raw is going to be very beneficial in these games with no fans, because we have the type of team, the type of players that hype each other up without a crowd.
So you don't...
we were better on the road last year.
True. This is true. But you don't have any concern about that Patriots defense? I think every time we talk about how people talk about the Patriots not being as good this year, they go, but they got that defense.
Well,
no.
they just lost half of their defense. Kyle Van Noy was a huge piece for them that went to Miami. And then they lost Dante Hightower to coronavirus. And I think that's going to be their quarterback and their star tight end of their defense. So because of that, their communication is going to be off. They're going to have to rally around the fact that they do not have the GOAT anymore, and that's going to be tough for them. They have the rundown guy that nobody wanted in Cam Newton. I seriously think this is a team that's going to be really bad this year, get a top pick, get a quarterback, and next year move forward trying to prove Brady wrong long-term rather than short-term.
Not to mention, they had several guys, I think offensive linemen, opting out of the season,
Marcus
too.
Cannon.
And so that's not going to help their situation either. Will be
Patrick
good for
Chung.
us. Yep.
Safety.
So, yeah. Well, I hope you're right. I like that idea of a 17-point deficit. Make me very happy. Good way to start the home. The home record.
After you get that Julio jersey.
After I get the Julio jersey. Yes. Well, a topic for another day. Well, I promised we'd be done after 2 hours. It's been 2 hours and 4 minutes, but I think it might be time to wrap this broadcast up, because if we don't stop right now, we'll be overlapping into your show tomorrow morning, and we got to leave some time for that. So I think this is the time where we sign off. You got places to go. I got some things to do here, and you guys got things to do with the rest of your Friday nights, and then sit here looking at us for the next 3 hours. So it's been fun though, man. This was not really that planned ahead. It was a little bit of a spontaneous, hey man, when can I drop by for something? I was like, well, after I get done golfing. Oh, by the way, since you're coming by, let's throw the mics on real quick and do a show. Like a quick 20-minute show about Quinton Dunbar. Look what happened on that. 2 hours and an hour and 40 minutes later, still talking. Anyway, well, that's it. Well, I appreciate you guys. I want to thank my special guests here, of course, Noah, the Boelter, DJ Squabo. Check out his YouTube channel. It is in the description. And I will be joining his channel tomorrow when you go live from 10 to 1 in the morning on his YouTube channel. So it should be very fun. The broadcast YouTube live show. First YouTube live show. I'm excited to see how that all goes. But go check it out tomorrow. We'll be talking about a bunch of stuff and doing contests, which it's going to be really embarrassing. I'll tell you already. Watch just so you can watch me be humiliated. Favor. That's the problem. The fact that he even tells me that, it makes it even worse. So if you want to see me get massacred in trivia and embarrass the crap out of myself, come watch the show tomorrow for no other reason. But that's going to definitely cap it all off. A quick note. I'm still looking for more females, lady 12s out there to join future panels. I've got one almost set, but I would love to have a few more since we have so many dudes in this channel and a handful, very small handful female representation. Would love to have you if you are interested. So send me an email, norb@norbcam.com.
Did you ask Calvin? Oh, sorry.
Ask him what?
If he wants to be one of the panel.
Oh! What's that hat say?
City of Flight.
City of Flight. What
You've
is
never
it?
seen the front, huh?
I don't think I've ever seen that hat. I just put it on there.
I've had it on backwards this entire show.
I just never saw the front. I mean, it's different. I was like, what's different here? I never saw those words. Like such a simple black hat, and all of a sudden there's letters on there and stuff. Okay, it threw me off. What is the City of Flight?
This like now I'm just gonna wear it like we just won the Super Bowl. Let's just be happy.
Oh, okay. All right. That's cool. Anyway, go check out his channel. Watch the show tomorrow. And we'll be doing this again next week. But hit that subscribe button, man. And a notification bell, because that way you will hear one every time a spur-of-the-moment breaking news video drops. I want to thank you guys. Thank you for everybody who was in the Super Chat today. I love your support. Thank you so much. And for everyone who was in the chat, and to all of you who are just watching the show, thanks for spending a little bit of your Friday evening with us. It's been a lot of fun. We talked about all kinds of stuff. We started on with a kind of organized sense of topics. We're like, okay, we're going to talk about this. Here's our plan. We're going to talk about Dunbar. And then we're going to talk about Matthews and Griffin. And then maybe a couple other things. And boy, the next thing we're talking about buffets and your weight loss and all kinds of stuff. And who knows, that might have been more interesting than the other topics we actually started off talking about. But it's great. Love it. So thank you guys for watching. And have a great evening. Talk to you guys all later. Go Hawks.
Go Cougs.